Why is it waiting on my live stream? Let's get the right one here. We got the webcam. Bam. Got that. And make sure this one's on for the other screen. We're good to go. All right. Oh, I just got to do a little tweaking. 1 second. I tell you, I'm going to end up having to figure out a whole different layout for my stream. Like, I'll probably keep the same background, the same basic layout I have here. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to have to put together an intro video. If I don't want to do like a stream starting screen or a countdown or something, I'll have to figure out like it's like a compilation video. I don't know. Some funny memes or something will work, I think. Something along those lines should do it. But I'm not about to spend any more money on like stream layouts or emoticons or any of that kind of crap, because God knows I've spent way too much money on all that crap. Okay, hang on, let's gotta add tags apparently. I don't know why YouTube, when you're using Streamlabs OBS, I have no idea why YouTube doesn't actually integrate the tags that you put into your stream onto your actual like YouTube Studio, like Creator Studio. I have no idea. It's so dumb. But I'm not about to switch over to OBS right now because all of my shit's on Streamlabs. Like, the way it's been for like 3.5 years. Everything I've got is on Streamlabs. So I'm not going to switch over to OBS Studio. Not going to do it. So it just means I'm putting in tags by hand, apparently. Which is so much fun. Hang on, it says chat is unavailable. What the hell? See, this is another thing about freaking Streamlabs is I feel like OBS probably operates better for streaming on YouTube. Whereas right now I'm using Streamlabs and only streaming to YouTube for the most part. All I really got to do is spend some time, get some shit figured out, put together an intro video, bada bing, bada boom, everything will be fixed. All right. Update change logs. Sure. Oh, you gotta be kidding. This is so frustrating. Like, all you do is try to get your kids to bed so you can have 5 minutes to yourself. And then all of a sudden, you have nothing ready. Just the way life works, everybody. The way things go. What else? What else? MSU. I've already put my tags in the damn description. Why do I have to put them on here again? Yeah, we'll call that good. That should be fine. All right, where are we at with this? Seriously, you're starting back up? All right, well, let me get this crap lined up. That way we can just knock it all down. Please reauthorize your accounts. That one's done, that one's done, done. All right, easy peasy. Now we don't have to worry about keeping that thing up there. That's what she. All right. Okay. Let's grab our first story. Honestly, like, I wasn't even gonna talk too much about the whole Ohio thing again, because I pretty well covered all of it in my video. And there wasn't, between last night when I recorded and earlier today, there wasn't really a whole lot of like updates on the whole Ohio thing. Like, there's been a few changes as far as like, now there's more veterinarians coming out saying, yeah, there's dead animals or dying animals. Yeah, I've seen people from within the radius of the area that got covered in the chemicals bringing animals in that are lethargic, that are sick. Apparently somebody said they saw some that had like chemical burns on them. I don't know if that means like they were closer to the actual detonation or if it was the initial crash, whatever happened. But now we're hearing stories about animals like chickens and foxes that are getting sick and dying. So it's definitely like trickling down to where you're hearing more and more about it. That being said, wasn't really a whole lot more to add to it than what I already covered. And then apparently today, this video is from 3:25 my time, so 6 hours ago. Currently, authorities have issued a hazmat alert and a shelter-in-place warning is in effect for all individuals within a mile radius in Tucson, Arizona, after a truck carrying hazardous materials overturns on I-10 highway in Tucson, Arizona. And like, this is just mind-blowing that we can have so much of this shit happen all at once, and either it's one of those things that we never knew anything about, and all of a sudden it's just happening all at once, or it's something that has always, or something that's new, I guess we should say. It's not something that's just started happening recently. It's something that's been existing for a long time. Police have said that the truck was carrying about 2,000 pounds of the toxic chemical nitric acid. And apparently nitric acid is no bueno. They said on here it's extremely toxic if you get in contact. So, no clue about the severity of what's going on, how much of it's going to spread, or how far it's spread, or if they're going to do a repeat of like what happened over in East Palestine, where they detonated the shit and ended up causing the acid rain and all that crap. No update about that yet. At least not that I've seen. If somebody else has an update on this situation, please fill me in, because this is like the only thing I've seen about it is just this right here. Not even sure if it's trending or not. Alec Baldwin found himself trending, though. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. Alec Baldwin is, I forgot to follow this guy. Yeah, Alec Baldwin is getting to be in a lot of trouble, which is hilarious because he's slated to finish his film Rust. They're actually projecting that they're going to get back to it very, very soon here, which is mind-blowing. They're just going to have a different, obviously a different armorer. This was Helena Hutchins. She was the director of cinematography, I believe, so they've replaced her. I have no idea about the director, the other one that got shot. But it's all pointing towards Alec Baldwin going back to work, apparently. Crazy as that sounds. Which is really interesting because apparently her family, who are in Ukraine, are suing Alec Baldwin, claiming she would have brought them to the US when war broke out but was killed by the actor on the set of Rust. Now they're stuck there. I don't know if this has any validity whatsoever. I can't even begin to speak on this because this is like all presuming A, that she had the money to do so, and B, that this conversation actually happened. But apparently, story goes from the Daily Mail, parents and sister of cinematographer Helena Hutchins are suing Alec Baldwin, claiming the cinematographer would have brought them to the US when war broke out in Ukraine if she was alive. The Hutchins family is being represented by Gloria Allred, which is massive red flag in my opinion. Like that right there is just like the nail in the coffin. Who announced today at a press conference that they are seeking damages from Baldwin in Los Angeles. I mean, whether or not he's found guilty in criminal court, like of an actual like manslaughter or murder or whatever, they'll probably win something in civil cases. I mean, I can't imagine they won't win in civil court. Helena's mother, Olga, is a nurse treating the war wounded, and her sister, Svetlana, struggles at home with her 2 young kids while her husband fights on the front lines. Family had not filed any immigration case or visa request, but their attorneys say Helena would not have allowed them to stay in the war if she was still alive. That sounds really weak, like really circumstantial. I can't imagine that anybody could look at that and say, oh yeah, 100% she was gonna buy their way out of Ukraine or some shit like that. I don't know. That seems to be like, okay, it's one thing to be... Well, I guess they wouldn't have a case. Without this, they wouldn't have any sort of like financial settlement from Alec Baldwin because none of them are married to her. You're talking about her mother and her sister. They're all Ukrainian citizens. They're treating the wounded. They're fighting in against Russia. Like this seems like a stretch. This seems like crazy stretch. Let's see. This is Helena with her sister Svetlana. Family's attorneys say they all plan to move from Ukraine to the U.S. before the incident, but now they're stuck in war-torn Ukraine. But how do you even prove that? How do you prove that there was ever a time where, while she was alive, the plan was to bring them to the U.S.? Like, that seems like pretty weak sauce. I don't know. Like, that just doesn't... Something about that just seems off. In a recorded statement, Helena's sister Svetlana said, "To lose my sister was a horrible experience and one of the biggest losses of my life. Even more devastating is to see the utter suffering of our parents and how their health has sharply declined," Svetlana said in a pre-recorded statement. "It's for this reason that I'd like those who are at fault for somebody to carry that responsibility, not just someone, but that very someone who is truly responsible. To let this go and let this be unpunished will be unallowable," she added. Well, I don't know what kind of case you'd have. Ukrainian citizen sues American actor for wrongful death on a movie set, claiming that the woman that was killed was going to bring them to the United States. That just seems so far-fetched. And I can't stand Alec Baldwin. I 100% think he's guilty of her death. Whatever they charge him with, manslaughter or murder, I 100% believe he's guilty. But, like, all the toxic mutants breathing Ohio, yeah. I tell you what, it's, well, now there's some in Arizona, too. So now we got Arizona and Ohio and Texas. Texas had that other train that, the crash wasn't as bad, but it had chemicals on it. Hey, Richie. But yeah, this is crazy. Like, they're actually trying to sue Alec Baldwin for damages from Ukraine. How do you even pull that off? Yeah, I agree with you there, Invictus. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Alec Baldwin. I did like Hunt for Red October. That was probably his, like, one really good movie. But that was only great because of Sean Connery. But trying to sue him from Ukraine because they're claiming that Helena was going to pay for them to come to the United States to escape the war. The mom's a nurse. The husband, the brother-in-law, is a soldier. So, I don't know. This whole thing seems so strange. Oh, does your sister go to MSU? Damn. Toxic air and water. I mean, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Feels like we're getting there. But yeah, I don't know. This feels like such a weak case. Like, I can't imagine that they're going to get anything. Like, Helena's husband? Absolutely. Helena's, I mean, he's directly affected by it. But her family in Ukraine? That's so, I don't know. Something just seems really off about that. Oh, I love The Rock. But that's also because Nicolas Cage. I mean, really. Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, Ed Harris. Was Adam Baldwin in that? I think Adam Baldwin was in that. Mr. Gamergate himself. Adam Baldwin's been in a shit ton of movies, though. Adam Baldwin was in Predator 2. Anytime they need that big military-looking dude, they always got Adam Baldwin for those. Funny thing is, no relation to Alec at all. Hutchins is Ukrainian. Apparently her sister is married to a soldier and her mom's a nurse. And so they're trying to sue Alec for wrongful death because supposedly, the story goes, Helena was going to fly them to the U.S. to stay safe, I guess. I don't know. Not that there's any indication that wherever Helena's sister is, that she's not safe. Her husband's on the front line. I don't know. It's so far-fetched. That being said, apparently they're going to get back to filming. Rust to resume filming with Alec Baldwin and new cinematographer. I mean, all right, all right. Think about the balls on this man. If you don't need another reason for him to go to jail, this is it right here, okay? You literally, whether you intentionally did it or not, you pulled the trigger that ended somebody's life. And now you're going to go back to work doing the same thing you were doing before, and they've just had to replace the person whose life you ended. I mean, think about how messed up that is. Oh, I know, right? Totally seems like the perfect cover-up. I mean, now apparently, I can't remember if I had I don't think I have the tweet. Oh, this thing from Sean Penn was messed up. I don't think I have the tweet. Apparently, the cinematographer is working with the state, with the government, to turn state's evidence against him. She says that apparently when they were doing the safety briefings and safety trainings on set, he was screwing off, watching his phone, didn't care. I mean, I believe it. Clearly, he didn't have any common sense about gun safety. And of course, I think the cinematographer is guilty as well, because she was the one that was. They had beer and live rounds on set. They were shooting beer cans and stuff when they weren't filming. She had no experience. She got the job because she was like a nepotism hire because her dad was an armorer on movie sets. So the entire thing was like, yeah, 100%. Her and Alec are the ones that are really, in my opinion, probably guilty of whether it's manslaughter or murder or whatever. It's the two of them. Her for the negligence, him for hiring her, and then him for pulling the trigger. I mean, pretty much an open shut case. Everyone pretends like they know these people intimately. We don't know these people, we just see them in shows or movies. I don't know. I mean, I'd rather not know most of them intimately. That's the thing. The more you know about actors, singers, entertainers of any kind, the less you want to know. I mean, look at like shit like the Grammys and all that to even be like, I don't want to know these people, you know? The whole copy of the 3-part report for Timcast. Oh no. Well, you can send it to me. I don't know that I'm ever gonna need it because. So I was actually looking. Apparently, defango, that tweet earlier where he had sent Tim Pool that email, is gone. defango deleted it, and I can't find it anywhere. They're good at acting and fooling others, 100%. I mean, think about that. Think about the fact that actors have to spend their entire life pretending to be somebody else. It doesn't leave a lot of like room for a healthy mental like how do you go through your daily life being authentically yourself when every day of your life you're pretending to be somebody else? I mean, I don't know, kind of a weird psychology. Someone's got it on Substack? Okay. I'll have to take a look later because it doesn't seem like it matters now. First of all, the only reason I cared about the defango email was because it was a pretty, I don't know, he called Shane Cashman Shane Davidson or something. Like, there was a lot of typos and miscommunications in there. It didn't seem very authoritative, to get my meaning. Thinks people are going to sue Tim and company. Says he has info that'll happen. So defango had already put an email out that if he doesn't get a public apology in 7 days, that he's going to sue him. The email was not worded very professionally. It was very emotional, not very legalistic. Then defango took down the email. Now his recent tweets are that he's contacted Shane Cashman, that he and Tim are trying to work things out. I don't know. Like, that side of it. Look, I've been very clear about this whole thing. I don't know all of Manuel defango's past. I'm not saying I don't trust the guy, but I don't have a reason to trust him or distrust him. It's one of those, he provided receipts. We all kind of dug through the receipts. When things didn't match up with Eliza's story, that's when you go, okay, there's something to this. Beyond that, like, I don't know. Ian has not been on the show in 2 days. I mean, maybe. So yeah, let's wrap this up because I'd rather jump into the thing about Shane Cashman and one of the other writers, journalists, whatever you want to call them, for Timcast. But yeah, Alec is marching back onto set, so I don't think he's going to go to jail. As much as I think he deserves to, I don't think Alec's going to jail, unfortunately. Oh, hang on, let me see if I can actually hear this.
I do not believe that people have a right to point-loaded guns in other people's faces, which is what they do when they go unvaxxed into the population. So with knowing that there are restraints on the federal government and that
oh yeah, Lydia,
private
you're
companies
right.
are able to mandate vaccination, I just didn't want to be complicit in being part of a company that wasn't doing that. So I will be returning to set when 100% of the crew, because they try to focus this on zone one, meaning those who are involved directly with actors. And I think it's one of them, it's something of an obscenity, because you're not caring for those people that are in the other
These
unions.
people are so freaking deranged. Honest to God, like I can't imagine living my life the way that these people think. Prisons for the poor, 100%, Francis. Maybe I'll find out what it's like one day. I don't know. Sweden's civil war over fascism and democracy. Hopefully I win and can invade Denmark before 1941. Good luck with that. But yeah, Sean Penn doing what Sean Penn does. He seems like he's about to cry because that's how these people... I don't know, maybe it's like when they feel threatened. Maybe it's like when they feel like they don't have control over things, or when people... Imagine being an elitist, like entitled prick like Sean Penn, where you're used to always getting your way and thinking you're right. And imagine the evidence now goes against them. The research, the mandates, the lockdowns, the tests for COVID, all these things have been shown to be ineffective, inconclusive, have negative effects psychologically, physically. Stay inside, get Uber Eats, don't go outside, don't get healthy, don't eat eggs. Oh, eat eggs, but no, now we can't afford eggs, even though eggs have some of the best way to fight the spike proteins, all these things, right? These people, once all these things that they've been like fed and that they spew to other people, when those things get like rattled, so do they. I mean, they have no confidence, no leg to stand on. Never liked him in his movies besides, by the way, Dustin Hoffman, Literal Nobody. Yeah. You think he'll be found guilty? Confess to checking of the gun and knowing he should have checked the gun. I mean, it's a close case in my opinion, too. 100% close case in my opinion, but the jury is going to have a bigger effect on it. They do definitely think their opinions matter. They're professional performers, yeah. Yeah, oh my god, you saw that video of Zelensky just snorting away like he had some leftover Coke under his nose there? Oh my god, and you know, that's the worst part. It's not just Zelensky, it's all the politicians, both sides, everyone's... So that guy that got buried because of that weird video he had, you know, the dude in the wheelchair, he was like humping his cousin's head on a bed. It was the weirdest thing I've watched. Like I've goofed off with my brothers and friends and stuff. I've never taken my pants off and tried to hump another dude's head. That's not my thing. But yeah, that got him kicked out, right? But he was the one that was like, yo, these Republicans and Democrats, they're all having like these cocaine-fueled orgies and stuff behind the scenes. And it's like, I'm not shocked. It's the same overseas. It's the same in every country. That these people are all just like disgusting, gross, incestuous perverts. They're just nasty. And, you know, actors are the same way. I've got a friend who used to live in LA, and he's a mechanic, and he knew a lot of guys that worked in the Hollywood scene, and he's like, oh yeah, none of these guys are faithful to their spouses. Every one of them's out banging somebody else. They all have open marriages. It's sad. I mean, it's like what the level of fame does to a lot of these people is truly horrifying, because like this is not the way normal people behave. And when normal people try to idolize this, when normal people idolize celebrities, is when their life starts falling apart. Those are the people who they want to live, they want the things that they see the celebrity have. They want what the Instagram influencer has. They want the things that they can't obtain. And so they're miserable because their life doesn't match up to what they see on TV, you know? I hate reality TV. I mean, celebrities are bad enough, but like the reality TV side of things, that's just it's just a sore spot for me. So this guy, Aiden Kearney, I had never heard of before. He's got like 29,000 followers on Twitter. Well, maybe Ashton Kutcher is genuine. I'm not saying that there isn't a single genuine person in Hollywood. I'm saying the majority of them are no better than politicians or entertainers of any kind. The majority of them are just disgusting. A lot of public servants, when they let loose, it's really wild in an unhinged way. I bet. That's the other thing. Public servant doesn't mean what it's supposed to. It's, Arrogance and power creates a really easy road to evil. And you know what? That's the thing. That's the hard blend. Like, part of my personal beef with Trump, even though I voted for him, was the fact that I didn't like the fact that he was such a blowhard. But at the same point, sometimes that's useful. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's such a tough line. Like, how do you walk that line? How do you get somebody who's got enough confidence and self-confidence and ego that they can get the job done, but that they're also not going to be like an unbearable prick who walks over everybody else? You know? You got the power. Hey, you know what? Somebody's got to. So this is a really interesting thread, though, and I want to go through it real quick because it paints a very interesting light on both the editor and Shane Cashman, and by extension, a few of the other guys at Timcast. That's why I think that, despite what defango said when he deleted the email, there's going to be lawsuits at some point. I'm 100% sure that that's going to happen. So he starts off with, Timcast is a multi-million-dollar organization run by children. Hang on, let me put main screen on. There we go. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but my conversation with executive editor Chris Carr about why they pulled Shane Cashman's story didn't go well. So it says, Shane Cashman, hang on, does this feed right into it? I think it does, yeah. Shane Cashman is not a serious journalist. Before working at Timcast, he was a freelance writer who wrote stories about the history of air conditioning and Mary Poppins. Moral history of air conditioning. Cooling the air was once seen as sinful. Maybe the idea wasn't entirely wrong. In Mary Poppins Return, imagination is just background noise. So, okay. I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere. I'm not going to shit on the guy for, like, you know, having to write a bad article here or there. But it goes on. Shane's big claim to fame was profiling Kanye West, but all he did was kiss his ass while saying with a straight face that Kanye had a legitimate chance of being elected president. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have known then and there when Tim Pool said that it wasn't just him shitposting on Twitter. Like, the idea that Kanye could have ever actually gotten any substantial amount of votes to be a president is just asinine. No, serious at all. Actually believes that, but Timcast published it, and I remember that. That was like Shane Cashman's big article there. His big break was doing the little piece on Kanye. Air conditioning is sexist. Everything is sexist, though. The only thing that's not sexist, apparently, is actual sexism, which we'll get into in a little bit over this whole Sydney Watson thing. If people have too many good things, they start to turn to evil. They have nothing left to overcome. Yeah. No, honestly, like, all right, so kind of a side note. Saying Kanye could be president is pure grifting by Tim. Yeah. You guys have probably heard about the whole thing about how gaming needs to be accessible. Okay? Everything needs to be accessible. But, like, every article you see from, like, rags like The Gamer or Kotaku is they need to make gaming more accessible. And when I was a kid, gaming was not accessible. It's why there were so few gamers. So when I was a kid growing up, I was born in '86. In the early '90s, we had our original Nintendo. Before I was born, we had our Atari. And so we had me and three brothers. My parents weren't very rich. We couldn't afford all the new stuff. Couldn't afford a new game every other week. So we only had a limited amount of time to play the Nintendo, a limited amount of access to video games, and we had to wait years for a new system. I think that's perfectly fine. I think that teaches you patience. I think that teaches people to actually, you know, wait for something better and realize that, you know, things are precious and things that your parents spend money on actually are that they have value, you know, because you don't just turn around and buy your kid whatever they want the next day. So when I hear this whole thing about gaming needs to be more accessible, I'm like, screw that. I think actually matter, like, you know, being able to go to the hospital and not get, you know, completely screwed over on your hospital bill. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of things in life that you hear about accessibility, and I'm like, no. There's a beauty and something that helps your character develop as a person by having to be patient, by going through adversity, and by struggling a little bit. That will help you immensely when you grow into an adult. Yeah, and you had to save up, exactly. So he's a local Massachusetts-based independent journalist. He goes after the establishment. He was a guest. I know he was a guest on IRL. He mentions in this article or this Twitter thread that he probably won't be allowed back on there. He goes by the brand name Turtle Boy. Okay, so that's where I've seen the Turtle Boy thing. Oh yeah, Peanut. They rage quit from semi-difficult games. Yeah, they. Did you ever see the article a week or two ago? One of those pieces about the Harry Potter game where they're like, Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy is like Elden Ring, but easier or on easy mode. It's like, y'all hate difficulty, don't you? Y'all hate having any struggle in your life. You just can't stand to have to like try at anything that you do. It's so pitiful. Okay, so Tim didn't want to address the fact that Eliza had used his show to spread her lies about sex trafficking and gotten other conservatives censored for posting the truth about her. Luckily, Shane was on the case and she buttered him up real good, yeah. We know she did. Obviously, Shane's 3-part series was a joke, particularly part 3, which falsely accused defango of running a psyop to control us all into believing that Eliza was lying about sex trafficking. I chronicled the ridiculousness of it in this thread, which we don't really need to go through. We've covered it before, but, you know, the gist was Shane went out there, wrote this gigantic word salad fluff piece where it basically comes to a point where he believes her. He doesn't need to see the evidence. This defango guy is creating all these bots to attack everybody, and he's this mastermind, this evil scientist that's creating this viral sensation where everyone's just clamoring to attack her with no proof, and she's the victim, and whatever. Okay, so that was the long and the short of it. In one's life, if one's life has a tragic or a sorrowful dimension to it, they're open to deeper understanding and profundity. Yeah, no? Is it profundity? Because the word is profound, but obviously you don't say profundity. I don't know, but good point. One Timcast editor made the executive decision to pull the story after speaking with defango. So yeah, it turns out it wasn't Cassandra McDonald that pulled it, even though she does a lot of the editing. It was this Chris guy. Shane intentionally did not mention his name because he thought that doing so would protect him, but he mentioned him by name in a podcast.
So... Who did the thread?
I can find it right now.
Okay.
I don't know. I think he might have been banned by now. I forget his name.
Is it a dude who, I mean, does he have any relation to Tate or anyone?
I have no idea.
Okay. So...
Manuel Defango.
Yeah,
what does it say, Gina?
That's right.
So let's see if it even comes up here because...
I think it's probably archived somewhere.
Okay, so it's deleted or
he's
he's deplatformed because I sent the thread to Bryson because he was talking about Eliza on Twitter and I said, hey, this is what I've found. But now so the first tweet, it says, finally got blocked by the lying grifter Eliza Blue. In honor of this, we will fully debunk her lie of being a sex trafficking survivor with her own words.
Yeah. And that's the thread. That's
the start of the thread. Okay. But when I click on
it's just as disingenuous as everything Tim did in his ranting 48-minute video before his apology video.
It's just replies to the thread.
Gotcha.
So it's either been
He's been nuked. So in the aftermath of that thread happened, and I think it took like a week or two for people to start picking up on it.
Okay.
Started going viral. There's a lot of bigger people with like channels that do this kind of like the YouTube drama thing.
Oh, sure, like the quartering and things like
all
that.
All those people.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a big role in this drama.
He becomes a major player.
Is he okay, this is like
who is this woman? I have no idea. It just says in a podcast. You literally wrote 80,000 words and changed his name so that you didn't have to actually worry about libel. Just called him the Grift Stalker. Or Gang Stalker, sorry. The Grift. Defango probably would be okay with the Grift Stalker. Isn't his podcast is Griftcast? Over the weekend, Manny came on the Turtle Boy live show to talk about how he was defamed and threatened legal action while we were talking. 3 articles were removed. That is really funny. So this Aiden Kearney guy was talking to defango, and while they were in their interview, the articles got taken down. I don't know if that's coincidence or what. Dude banned public chat and made it pay only. Yeah, honestly. That's like I just wrote Lord of the Rings. Who's the main character? I forget. Yeah. It's more like who's the villain? Morgan, yeah, something. We should call Eliza the Grift Stalker. That'd be great. Instead of admitting they made a mistake, Timcast editors insulted their readers. Yep. And then remember they said, due to the fact that the gonzo journalism style of this series was misperceived, this series in its entirety has been removed. Right. So that was the gonzo apology. Okay. The language is ridiculous. 100%. So this was supposed to be an investigation about a serious matter. Eliza lied about being sex trafficked. And again, I'm still holding on to hope. Well, not hope, because I wish that it didn't happen to her in the first place. But I will reserve a shred of doubt that maybe when she was 17 that something like that happened to her. I can 100% plausibly see that happening. Okay? That's where I'll say that. But again, that happened to me once, and so when I made bad decisions, maybe she had trauma from her teenage childhood years, right? From the thing that happened to her, and that led her down a path of seeking out bad guys and guys that would treat her badly and take advantage of her and stuff. But your personal damage doesn't equate to trafficking later on in life, you know? That's my take on the whole thing. Yeah, Morgoth, exactly. Tim is the grift maker. Ooh. It's a very leftist thing to create a new world when you're backed into a corner. Well, that's the thing. I didn't know Jack Murphy before Tim Pool. Like, Jack Murphy wasn't on the map until then. Still holding to hope that good time not to finish the sentence. I know. I'll just say I can give her the benefit of the doubt that when she was 17, maybe something bad happened to her. That's as far as I'll go. Everything after that, like I've said before, once she became a legal adult, once she was able to put herself in and out of situations, if somebody wasn't forcibly holding her against her will, threatening her with physical harm or violence, or any of those things that go along with it, then I don't believe anything that she says equates to trafficking. I'm sorry, that's, one of those things. That's, again, children can't consent, but once you're no longer under 18, it's a whole different, everything takes on a different hue. I don't know, did he? I saw a meme about him, but I don't remember if he actually said anything. All right, so Richie, Jack Murphy, if you've seen the memes with people with the beard, it's got like gray on both sides and dark in the middle. Jack Murphy, real quick. So Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer had their You Are Here podcast. Jack Murphy is a manosphere dude. He's the ultimate alpha male. He had the liminal order. It was like an alpha male Chad, support group that you could pay $100 for a month for, and you get all the connections he's got, be part of his group, right? He was a regular on Timcast. Jack Murphy went on Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson's show, and somebody super chatted about his past, about an article he had written where he had basically talked about how much of a turn on it was to be a cuck, because he'd send his girlfriend off to screw other guys, and it turned him on. Okay, so with the super chat, that's where he was like, F you for reading that. He blew up at Sydney Watson. That's when his entire past came into play, where it turns out he had a lot of like bisexual, erotic, like webcamming and all that kind of stuff, putting things in his body and all that for money, and his whole career blew up. The whole thing just like fell apart. So the joke is the beard. Riffcast IRL masterclass on Photoshop and Murphy's beard or Blue's haircut. Defango's innocent. Temple must track. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I like I said before, I don't know enough about Defango's like his entire story, because again, we're all just random people on the internet. Like, I don't know anything beyond this situation, but everything in his thread didn't match up with Eliza Blue's story, and when questioned, she got everybody banned. I mean, it's cut and dry. It's like the woman is lying about many parts of her story. So yeah, Richie, hopefully that catches you up on the Murph. But yeah, you could Google Jack Murphy. You could take a look, but it's careful what you don't search with images on, because you'll find some stuff you don't want to see. That Murphy's program was actually decent. So I looked into it. I was curious. Not like I was going to spend $100 a month on that shit, and I don't need some other dude to tell me how to be a man. But it's like, I was curious, like, well, okay, what about, he talked about financial connections, investing advice, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, I'll take a look and see. I started reading through his intro email, and my God, that thing was probably, you thought Shane Cashman's article was long? Jack Murphy's email that he would send out to explain the liminal order was longer than part 1 or 2. Not even kidding. It was insane. Super alpha male guy. Yeah. Super alpha male guy that turned out to be super beta guy. Okay, so Shane Cashman put out that tweet that he's grateful that Eliza trusts her with trusts him with her story, grateful to his readers, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, Liver King. Oh, God. What is it with all those guys? Yesterday, Timcast executive editor Chris Carr started chirping at me, telling me that I was too uncultured to recognize Shane Gonzo's journalism. Here he is bragging about his rock star journalist.
Covering the issues.
Let's restart.
We got Chris, who is
the executive editor at
was it a Discord server?
Timcast.com. We have an amazing team of awesome rock star journalists who are covering the issues daily and hourly. Obviously, I'm backed by popular demand, so thank you for that.
Yes.
People took to the streets. They said Chris Carr or nothing.
Right.
You gave him Chris Carr, so I'm...
My man's sucking his own dick there. Holy crap.
With the names, and I could do my research as best as I can. And like I say in the story that comes out probably right now, I'm like scared to look. Oh, it's out.
Why are you getting lit up?
No, my editor Chris just let me know.
Okay.
I start a war at the end of the story, so that's gonna be fun. But
wait, what do you say, Chris? Let him know.
Okay.
Why
are you getting lit up?
No, my editor Chris just let me know to look. Oh, it's out.
Whatever. I noticed Chris Carr followed me, so I reached out for comment on why he pulled the piece. He told me that the article was not pulled over any worries about libel and suggested the readers like me were too stupid to understand what gonzo journalism is. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So let's use the word fake instead of grifter, because I got an issue with some other YouTuber I've been watching a few videos on about his covering Sydney Watson's lawsuit against Blaze, and I've got my own opinion on it, but the term grifter is kind of like the term communist. It's being thrown out there so... It's like freaking the Nazi term. Everyone's a grifter, everyone's a Nazi, everyone's a communist. I'm sick and damn tired of it. I don't know. Maybe he thinks it's funny. So he messaged Chris Carr, "Are you the editor who allowed this hilarious garbage to go to a print? Hey, I object to the framing of your question, so why should I answer it? Did you really allow that to print? Are you at all embarrassed now that it's been pulled for legal reasons? You never answered my initial question, so why should I answer yours? Do you understand what gonzo journalism is? Yes, and that's not what Shane wrote. Do you understand what libel is? Shane wrote the exact definition of gonzo. I don't know why you're confused and airing your confusion so adamantly. Are you at all ashamed that as an editor, an article that you allowed to be published had to be retracted for fear of legal repercussions?" And then he just links to gonzo journalism. That's hilarious. Chris Carr told me that the line of questioning indicated I don't know what I'm talking about and that I'm not cultured as he is about gonzo journalism. But he wouldn't answer my question and didn't seem at all ashamed that as executive editor this story made it past him. So the guy asks him, "Do you even Google?" What a dick. Thanks for that. Can you answer my question now? I'm writing a story on this. The article was taken down for the exact reason that is explained in the retraction comment. So it has nothing to do with being completely wrong about Manny. Are we on the record? Yes. You will receive the same response from me whether we are on or off the record. Your line of questioning in your series of posts indicates that you don't have a clue what you're talking about, nor do you understand gonzo journalism, either willfully or ineptly. The definition of gonzo journalism is plain and easily accessible. If you take issue with that definition, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm asking you if you're at all embarrassed that as an editor you allowed a story to be published that had to be taken down for legal reasons. Does the retraction comment give you the impression that I'm embarrassed? I mean, sure as hell said something about your guys' opinion about your article. If I allowed a story to be published that had to be pulled because it was defamatory, I'd be embarrassed. It wasn't pulled for that reason. If it were, our retraction comment would say so. You can insist that you're... No, it wouldn't. Dude, this guy's a prick. You can insist that your perception of the situation is true as much as you want, but that doesn't make it so. Okay, so you're saying it was pulled because the readers were too stupid to understand what gonzo journalism is. No, I don't assume any of our readers are stupid. No, you just assume they're all PR bots. In fact, I value all of our readers and their perspectives. That's why I've been sure to respond to each and every email we've received. I addressed their questions thoughtfully and respectfully, and the response has been positive. Yeah. Bullshit it has. Oh my god. Guys, you can't comment on the articles unless you pay for Timcast.com, and every single person in the comments was roasting them. I think so, Peanut. It feels that way. Defining words, arguing about words, yeah. Chris Carr said the story wasn't pulled because it was defamatory, but because of the explanation of the article. Readers misperceived the style of journalism. He refused to explain what this meant because he pulled it out of his ass. So he asked him, "Can you explain what this means, and did you write it?" You're asking me to explain what two sentences mean. I suppose I could explain the concept of context if you're having trouble, but I think it's fairly straightforward. He responded with, "Please do, I'm not as smart as you." I like this guy. Chris refused to explain what the statement meant, claiming it was perfectly clear as it was. He said that only some Timcast readers were too dumb to understand what gonzo journalism is. Is it official company policy to pull down stories when readers misperceive them? I just reread our statement, and I'm fully convinced that there is no simpler distillation available. It's very clear. So yeah, some readers, not all readers. The level of ego in Timcast is full display. It's quite something. According to defango, Cassandra McDonald to Manny pulled the third article. Then she pulled the other two articles. She couldn't get hold of Shane, so went down. Oh, interesting. I mean, yeah, none of this is ever going to match up, guys. Like, nobody's story is ever going to match because everybody is, like, scrambling. In part 3, so this is Chris talking. In part 3, Shane specifically said that Gangstalker, who we now know as Manny, was responsible for a psyop that falsely made people believe Eliza was lying about being sex trafficked. Is that what you believe gonzo journalism is? No comments? So I guess there was a little time gap there. Forgive me, I lost interest in this back and forth and called it a night. The response to this particular story posed an unusual challenge, and we formulated a reaction that makes sense to us. Your last question indicates that you didn't read Shane's writing carefully and thoughtfully, nor do you accept the fixed definition of gonzo journalism. As I've said before, if you don't care for or understand what that specific and stylized genre of journalism is, I do not know what to tell you. Right. I'm stupid, as are most of your fans, I think he means, and supporters who read it and came to the same conclusion. This dude, so he says it's not accurate to say most. Other readers did not take issue with the story, and I never said that you were stupid. There was one dude, I went through the comments on part 3 before they nuked it. There was one guy, Joe Rogaine was his username. He went through every person's comment and argued with them because every comment besides his was negative. I'm talking every freaking comment, okay? Cassandra made Shane called Manny defango. Well, I mean, at least that's one good decision she's made. Antithesis, the sad thing is Tim still has a huge audience that treats him like some harbinger of truth. I guess there's a certain type of cringe people are attracted to. Kind of like Tim, yeah. Yeah, the fan blaming is off the charts, I tell you. So Chris Carr points out, have you read the replies to Shane's tweet? Lots of people took issue with the story, a sizable majority. A majority of what number, though? The term majority can't be contextualized. Your claim is hyperbole. Let's see. So he goes into some, I don't know what that quote is from. Shane still don't want to believe Manny seemed to have stress issues, went back to Cassandra. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if Tim's going to lose half his audience, but I think he'll lose a third of it. I mean, look, I unsubscribed to the channels I was subscribed to, and I didn't go back. And I'm not going to. It's like, yeah, so I have one less person to watch during the course of my day. So he goes on to say, the bottom part here says that Manny drove 2 people to suicide. Is this true? If so, who are the 2 people and how did he drive them to suicide? Oh, check this out. After looking into your background, I don't really feel comfortable engaging with you. In fact, I regret speaking with you at all. I was not aware of your past. What past is that? I'm going to say he doesn't get an answer. Hyperbole? Oh, pure hyperbole. Ooh. Yeah, this is where it gets spicy. This is where it gets very spicy. So apparently Aiden Kearney's past says, Chris's source was a man named Ryan Waters who has been trying to sue me for 5 years after he wrote about his 2016 arrest for beating his girlfriend and killing her dog in front of their special needs daughter. This counts as a legitimate source at Timcast. Let's see. During a live stream, Chris's source had an unconscious woman fall on top of him before leaving abruptly. Seems like whoever she is more likely to be a victim of something than Eliza ever was. I informed Chris Carr that he was using a domestic abusing dog killer as a source, which seemed concerning since he's an editor for a major website that claims to write real news. He clearly was just looking for a reason to not to answer legitimate questions about his failures. Let's see. Due to this knowledge, I'm ending this conversation. Okay, so you're not answering questions because you get your news from men who beat women and kill dogs. Is this generally how you source and vet? A lot of typos, dude. Generally how you source and vet stories at Timcast. You can ask Cassandra who I am if you'd like. My record speaks for itself. But it seems as if you're using this as a way to avoid answering a difficult question. This is spicy. This is really icky. From on the Seth Hillary hacks. Oh, okay. Okay, so they have interactions from the past. Interesting. So he responds with, your source is a man we exposed for getting arrested for beating his girl, killing her dog in front of a special needs child, and then sued her and I for discussing it. So this is the guy that wrote this thing here about the theory about the gang stalker, and this is who gave them this information. Is this complete scumbag. Oh boy. Eliza Blue's bigger than Watergate? I don't know, maybe not bigger than Watergate, but it's something special. His IT tech and has gone to DEF CON. Yeah. So, Timcast editor Chris Carr is also a bigot. Yesterday, he called Catholicism a cult and said he wanted to destroy the Catholic Church. He called out for it by Jack Posobiec, got scared, apologized, and deleted the tweet. I'm not convinced that the establishment is, per se, targeting Catholics. However, any radical activist, regardless of their ideology, who wants to destroy the Catholic Church has my support. See, I'm not fond of Catholicism, but I'm not going to say I want somebody to go actively destroy it. That's weird, too, from an... Don't these people know that if you're going to be like posting stuff like that, you need to have like a professional Twitter account and then like a privated personal one? Like, what is it with these people that get into these positions? Like, it's not like me. I'm a nobody. If I tweet something spicy, I really don't care. But I don't have a 6-7 figure income. I don't represent like a YouTuber that's got 1.5 million subscribers and his own show and his own podcast interviewing politicians. Like, these people don't understand it. Like, you gotta separate the professional from the personal. You can't have that much overlap. Well, that's the problem with Tim Pool's mansion is the overlap of professionalism and personal. So that's where you got like the frat ward, the fraternity thing going on. Yeah, I'm getting that way with Jack Posobiec too. And honestly, like for me, being raised more Protestant evangelical, like I've got my own issues with the Catholic Church. Not a fan of like the way that they do things, but at the end of the day, I'm not out here like secretly plotting to end the Catholic Church, and I don't think every priest is a pervert. It's like I think that there's exceptions for everything, you know. Shouldn't journalists be impartial? I think that feeds a lot more into what my point is like, where's the impartiality? Like Jack Posobiec is a regular on the show, and this guy is the editor for Timcast News. Like this is Why is everyone around Tim angry? Yeah. PR 101? No, apparently not, Francis. Apparently not. All right, so this is where it gets to where I think is where I'm at with this whole thing. Timcast is a multi-million-dollar media company that many people trust as a legitimate source of news, but this ordeal has revealed that it's run by morons. They have no journalistic standards and accuse supporters who offer legitimate criticism of being paid PR bots. They provided cover for Eliza Blue, defamed defango. That's funny. Defame. He should switch his name to Defango, like with an M-E instead. That'd be hilarious. Lied about why they removed stories and insulted supporters. If they had any integrity, they would have invited Shane Defango, Brittany Venti, and the Quartering onto the show to discuss this face-to-face. I doubt they will. Heroes, Tim Pool could have blown up the internet. He could have gotten Brittany, the Quartering, Defango, all these guys on the show all at the same time. You realize how many freaking viewers he would have had? I mean, just think about it. He could have made it a members-only segment, okay? He could have made money hand over fist. I know that Cassandra is friends with Eliza. I know Eliza's got dirt on somebody at Timcast. What's up, Tucker? What, buddy? My cat's over there screaming. What's up, bud? But like, literally, he could have broken the internet. Defango runs Griffith mockery of Timcast. Tim would have got like 500,000 live viewers. I mean, he could have done something amazing. Oh, so he got approached by several hackers to build the Shadowbox website for them. So yeah, I was reading through something about that where he said that these people have made a hell out of his life, and so in the lawsuit that Defango was supposedly bringing against Tim Pool, his claim was that he had lost $200,000 in contracts because of all the defamation over this whole Shadowbox thing, and how these people have made his life hell for years, and he's been defamed before because of his connection with them, because I guess they approached him. And that's where this whole thing goes, where Shane Cashman didn't do his research, and just insane. Like, absolutely bonkers. Yeah, I definitely think that his ego plays a huge part of it. I mean, okay. Tim's video, he's like, screw you guys, I don't need you, I'm not going to apologize, I'm not going to back down. What did he do? The very next day, he recorded a video apologizing. I mean, think about it. Yeah, no, I mean, she's very guarded about her story. I know, I don't even have that many brain cells to begin with. I find myself to be like, I've got common sense, but I'm not a genius. But it's like, God, if somebody like that, and I know how he did it. He was a journalist. He was in the right place at the right time. He blew up at the right time, and it's like, credit to Tim for creating what he created, but he let it slip away. I feel like it got to be too big. He couldn't control it. He didn't vet the people around him. He brought in a lot of people who are just, I mean, so Tim complained about people calling him to get on the show, asking him for money, wanting something out of him. It's like, Tim, those are probably the people that work for you now. Those are all his complaints are probably the people he's surrounded himself with. Got stuck in trials, group stills after Manny. God, yeah. And see, this is part of that past that I knew nothing about because I didn't know who defango was. Had no clue before the Twitter thread that he had shared from that one OnlyFans chick. Then this whole thing like just kind of snowballed. The whole thing just, yeah, avalanched from there. Speaking of journalism, I don't know if you guys saw this. This whole Michigan State thing. Not to change topics too quickly here, but the thread, this Twitter thread, it just ends. I think that's, yeah. Pretty frightening, though. I mean, gonzo journalism is one thing, but like to not even do basic investigative reporting, I don't know. Tim is hiding something. Somebody at Timcast is hiding something. And, you know, if we never find out, oh well. As long as the story serves its purpose, as long as Eliza stops trying to scam people, as long as people start to be more aware of who it is that they're following. Look, like I said, I'm sick and tired of the term grifter being thrown out there like the term Nazi or communist or lefty or righty or alt-right or any of this kind of stuff. Like, those terms start to lose meaning when they get used so often. To somebody on the left, I'm an alt-right or extreme right-winger, but I'm not like a white ethno-nationalist. I'm a nationalist in the fact that I think our country needs borders. I think we need to limit immigration. I think we need to protect our own citizens. I think we need to have one cohesive American culture. Like, that's where I'm a nationalist. But to someone who's a far lefty, I'm like Hitler, you know? Because otherwise you'd have to tell the same lie perfectly, which would be impossible. Yeah, that's a talent. Nobody can keep their lies straight when you're telling too many of them. Did they not cover the shooting on Timcast? Manny hasn't lawyered. He's trying to work through Cassandra to fix the story, put the truth out. Yeah, well, he had said that they had a week, but then he deleted the email. So if you go to defango's Twitter, I shouldn't have to go too far back to find. It was like a few hours ago. I think it was about 8 hours ago I saw this. Something about how he was going to work with Shane and Tim, and so that they could stop throwing punches or something. If you are going to say I'm getting paid all of a sudden because of my last thread, come bring the smoke to Griff Daddy, don't be hiding. So I guess he must have come to an agreement with Tim about how they're going to cover this. I don't know. Becoming a non-mainstream NPC is bad. Be able to think for ourselves is something we stand for, right? Connections with a friend to get attacked. Oh, okay. Yeah, where is his tweet? Okay, here it is, 11 hours ago. So this was after he put that email out, because I watched a video with the email in it earlier this morning. It says, okay, we have a tentative solution to the Timcast issue worked out. People will need to be patient with Shane Cashman to finish his work. I do not condone the attacks and ask people to leave them alone on my behalf. Memes and stuff are funny, but many people are just going too far. This shouldn't matter more to you than it does to me. Your actions shouldn't be heavier-handed than mine. To me, it was always about what happened to me and how those same people are directly targeting now this insane situation. That's why we jumped in the tardies in the first place, because when you look at this defango account, you can see the first time they silenced me and how the same people are back for another round. This time using the Eliza Blue situation as a springboard into Tim Pool's empire. Yeah, the spelling was really rough. There was a lot of typos, very emotional. I get it. I mean, it's an emotional situation, but if you're going to threaten a lawsuit, it's easy to say, hire a lawyer and pay them a retainer. That's like, I don't have $3,000 sitting around to hire a lawyer. I've got mixed feelings about Gates and Boebert, to be honest, but I like Rand Paul. I like conservative right-wing libertarianism. I'm not a fan of liberal, like left-wing libertarianism. I prefer like as small a government as possible. And I don't believe in you live your life, I'll live mine. We do have to have some basic moral laws, but like how many like rules and regulations and shit, as few as possible. So I'm like right-wing small L libertarian. That's, yeah. Anti-war, anti-getting in the middle of anybody else's shit. Protect our own country. About which Tim isn't talking about. Well, I know if there is, we'll hear about it tomorrow. But yeah, this is a pretty quick one. So this Michigan State shooter guy, apparently no connection to the university. I don't know what the deal is. When they finally found him, he ended his own life. But apparently, if you look at these tweets, I'll try to bring up one of them. It's on Indino's, what's this, Substack? Oh, it's on Locals, and I don't have a Locals account. I need to make a Locals account. Viral Twitter post blamed random white man for mass shooting at MSU. Black male was identified as the wanted gunman, but Twitter users had another plan. I think drugs should be legal for 21 up adults. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's one of those... Tim stole a cat scandal. Is this the cat thing still? I heard about the cat thing like 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. So this guy tweeted out, "Be careful, MSU. They are reporting the shooter as a black male, but that weird fit in red shoes is also giving a white guy in black disguise that they could be planning to let get away." I checked this dude's account. He deleted the tweets. And none of his tweets are like overtly political either, so it was really weird. It's like, what the hell, man? So this idea got trending that the shooter was a white guy pretending to be a black guy. Then dumbest man on the internet, John Cooper, who I only know him from his idiotic tweets. He has the worst takes on the planet. Retweeted this picture of this white dude and said, "Breaking, Michigan State active shooter the police are seeking is 21-year-old Lynn D. Walker, according to Dispatch Audio. Earlier reports were they were looking for a young man who was, quote, possibly black." The man they ended up finding, this dude down here, okay? Like, this guy. Not some white kid pretending to be black. But yeah, since then, of course, everybody's deleted these tweets. But like, honest to God, talk about making a bad situation worse. It's bad enough that we've got a shooter on the loose, out of school. But, you know, then we got dumbass Biden over here. I'm just gonna play the audio. It's too good not to.
Before I begin, I want to take a moment to say our hearts are with the students and the families of Michigan State University.
Why is he talking so quiet?
Last night I spoke with Governor Whitmer, and the FBI and additional federal law enforcement are on the ground assisting the state and local folks, and 3 lives have been lost and 5 seriously injured. And it's a family's worst nightmare. It's happening far too often in this country. Far too often. While we gather more information, there's one thing we do know to be true. We have to do something to stop gun violence ripping apart our communities. Ripping apart.
Where's the part that he says this?
3 educators lost their lives in Parkland, Florida. I met every one of those families, spent time with them.
Because if he's not talking quietly, he screams.
A lot of you here have to confront violence in your communities every single day. We took a big step toward passing the most significant bipartisan legislation in 30 years. Ghost guns and other things, background checks, but
first of all, background checks. I mean, this is the thing that pisses me off. I own guns. I live in a state where you have to wait a week to get your gun. Extensive background checks. It used to be if you had a concealed carry permit, you wouldn't have to wait a week. You'd have to wait 24 to 48 hours. Now I have to wait a full solid week, if not more, depending on how bad the backlog is. Anybody that says background checks are a new thing, it blows my mind. Absolutely. The fact that people buy into this shit is just part of where they don't know about guns. They don't know about gun laws. They don't know how guns work. They don't know why. They don't know the statistics on guns. They don't know that most gun deaths are suicide. They don't know that more people save their own life with a gun than those that actually take the life of an innocent person. Like, there are easy stats to find on all this. But yeah, whatever.
There's a lot more work to do, and I'm committing to getting it done with all of you. Some of you know that, and I'm going to say something that's always controversial, but there is no rationale for assault weapons and magazines that hold 50, 70 bullets.
So again, talking about somebody who has no idea what he's talking about. I looked at drum magazines before they were going to ban all of them. They're incredibly expensive. When they're full of ammo, they're incredibly heavy, and they also are going to jam easier than like a 30-round mag. So the reality is that them saying, "Oh, we banned 50 and 70 round mags," you didn't ban them nationwide. You literally, like, I don't. What the hell is he talking about? Yeah, who puts a 70-round magazine on a rifle? People do it for fun. People do it for convenience. But you will. I don't know if the likelihood is that you're going to have more jams than not, more misfires. I would assume that's more of a potential. But like, you don't see shooters run into buildings with a 70-round drum. Okay, this guy MSU pistol wasn't an assault rifle. Wasn't an assault weapon. It was a pistol. So it's just so stupid. And of course, icing on the cake, sadly, Michigan State shooter had prior felony gun charge dismissed by progressive prosecutor. Apparently, the county prosecutor, Carol Seaman, ended mandatory sentencing for felony firearm charges in the name of race equity. See, like, I don't know how I feel about criminals, people who are reformed criminals, people who are no longer convicts, losing their lifetime ability to actually have a weapon to protect themselves. Because, you know, Second Amendment is supposed to be that you have the right to defend yourself. So you say, well, this person committed a crime, they went to jail, they served their time. Felons, you know, I know that felons can get their right to vote back. I'm not sure how gun laws work for everybody. But I'm kind of conflicted about, like, should somebody who's served their time in jail never be allowed to have a gun ever again? Because they've served their time. But apparently this guy had a felony gun charge that was dismissed previously. Anthony McRae was charged in June 2019 with illegally carrying a concealed handgun without a permit, but later had those charges dismissed. See, that's tough. For me, that's really tough. As somebody who believes that, first off, I think every state should have constitutional carry. The fact that I have to pay every 4 or 5 years, like $50 or $60 just to have a concealed carry weapon is asinine. I hate it. The state that I live in. So, I don't know. I feel like there's more to this story. I feel like this guy, like so many of the other ones, kind of glows in the dark. Like, it's such a tough, such a muddy thing to have to wade through. Hang on, let me see what you said here. Rocco Castoro and Emily Molly were the owners of Subspace website and working for Tim Pool. They breached contract with Tim over January 6th media, then stole Tim's money. Tim lost his lawsuit to... I'll have to look this up. Let me I'm gonna jot these names down and I'll look it up on my spare time that I don't have. Don't worry, I'll find a spare minute or two. Maybe if he was punished, he would have learned. He only served a year on prison. Yeah, it's such a tough one. Like, as much as I am the whole be a law-abiding citizen, and I would rather we had constitutional carry. I mean, I still go and get my concealed carry permit because the state I'm in requires it, so I just go do the thing. That's because, you know, it's that whole abide by the laws of the state that you live in. So... makes me wonder if there was other charges. Like if I wish there's probably a way to look up prior offenses. Okay, let me get these names written down. Rocco Castoro and Emily Molly. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Tim has a past because, to be honest, I mean, he worked for Vice Media. There's something to be said about that. Kind of like the whole Candace Owens thing of I was a leftist and now I'm a right-winger. There's a lot of hesitance to that. There's a lot of that you got to be careful who you let into your circle, who you let into positions of authority. I mean, that's like the whole Eliza Blue thing. Look, I mean, she got into a position where she had complete control over people's Twitter accounts somehow, and she doesn't even technically work for Twitter. She doesn't have an official position. So it's a really tough one. But yeah, just more insanity. We've got freaking people in Ohio that are probably going to have cancer in 20 years from all these chemicals that they've been breathing in because the EPA told them that it was safe to go home. And we got dumbass Biden over here worrying about 70-round drum magazines for rifles that weren't even used. Before Manny gave his story and trailed it to Rocco Castoro, hoping to get the story out there. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll have to look into that because that would be a really interesting deep dive to do because I think much like me, a lot of people who have kind of been running with this story and investigating a little bit of the pieces of it, none of us really, and this was the first thing that gave me a little bit of pause when I first started looking into him. Like, I don't know this defango guy. I have no idea who he is. No clue. Had no idea about where he was, why he was relevant. I kind of looked at his Twitter bio, kind of went through his Twitter threads, but like, I didn't have any information to go off of. So, kind of want to wrap it up soon here with, oh, Rocco Castoro used the info to hire the hacker group to go after Tim Pool. Dude, that sounds like there are so many layers to that. Why is Taylor Lorenz trending? Oh my god. Targeting women online and then attacking them to generate engagement and clicks. Yeah, I'm blocked by Taylor Lorenz. Maybe she's unblocked me by now. I don't think that that's likely, right? No, I'm blocked. I don't. Maybe it was a quote tweet. I can't remember what I did to get blocked. I have another account, my my other podcast account, so I can always go on there. God, I love Razor Fist. Razor Fist is the man. Anyways, on to the Sydney Watson thing. I don't know how you guys all feel about this. I'm not a simp. I'm not a fan. I don't really watch her content on her own. Sometimes I'll see an interesting video. I think she's a decent guest. I think she's funny. Her and the Quarterings podcast is usually pretty decent. But like, I'm not one of these guys that was like simping for her and all this stuff. I didn't watch You Are Here. I can't stand Elijah Schaefer. I'll be flat out honest. Elijah Schaefer, before the entire stuff came out about him being a drunk, getting too handsy with people on the set, all this stuff before he got fired, I'm just not a fan. He creeps my wife out. My wife used to like him. And then he started doing this thing where all he talked about was his wife getting pregnant and being barefoot and stuff and how he'd be so sexy to get his wife pregnant. And it's like, as somebody who's had 3 kids, that's a really weird fetish to have because it's not glamorous in any way. It's not pleasant. They used private investigator Twitch streamer BX Bullet to set up Manny as the leader of the group. Oh, that's where she plays into it. Okay. Yeah, that woman is drama. That woman is nothing but drama. I was following her whole thing for a little while, and my god, that BX Bullet chick is something else. Alright, so let's look over the legalese of this entire thing. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. We're going to skip to the parts that actually have anything pertinent. And then I just kind of want to wrap up with my personal thoughts. There's several YouTubers attacking Sydney, calling her grifter, left-winger, thoughts, not that attractive, only famous because of her looks, blah, 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 blah. He's a strange man. Elijah's odd. And like I said, I wasn't a huge fan before he got fired. Then afterwards, I kind of understood why. I got it afterwards, you know? And again, there's innocent until proven guilty. The same with this lawsuit, the same with any lawsuit. Nobody should be defamed, libeled, convicted in the court of public opinion before convicted of an actual crime. You know, I think that's a fair stance to take. You can have your opinion about somebody. I've got a lot of opinions about these guys that are the, quote, leaders of like the conservative movement on Twitter and shit. Doesn't mean that they're criminals, but it definitely, I kind of look at them sideways like, no, I don't have any use for these guys. But again, we're all out our opinions about certain people. The the vibe you pick up on, the aura, whatever you want to call it, what people put off, everyone's going to pick up on that different ways. You're going to interpret their body language, the way they talk, the way they act, the things they say, and you're going to react a certain way because that's the way your bias is going to come out in that situation, for good or for bad. It's the way it works. So, summary of action. I apologize if most of you have already seen this or read through it, but I just kind of want to get a brief summary before we jump into the controversy and drama now about Sydney. Miss Watson has suffered injuries and the derailment of her multi-million-dollar career in conservative commentary as a result of her former employer, defendant The Blaze, creating and tolerating a hostile work environment and allowing sexual harassment, retaliation, and discriminating against her on the basis of her sex and religion. I'm going to stop right there and say there's a lot of people going, well, she's an atheist, she doesn't have a religion. Fair enough. Atheism is a rejection of theism, which is religious belief in a deity. But you could honestly interpret atheism as its own religious practice in the fact that you are basically, you have no proof that there's no God, and therefore you're acting on faith. I mean, it's kind of a strange road to go down, but I'm just going to leave it at that. The Blaze's conduct was continuing, pervasive, and appalling, particularly in the light of The Blaze's representation to its audience of largely conservative Americans that it stood for solid traditional values. The Blaze, founded and run by famous conservative commentator Glenn Beck, told its audience that it protected traditional values and practiced integrity, and this was part of the reason Miss Watson trusted her career to it. But The Blaze instead opted to cater to the demands, tantrums, and misbehavior of another young rising star, a male one who, long after Miss Watson had been terminated for complaining and demanding justice, was finally fired based on allegations that he physically assaulted and manhandled at least one other female The Blaze employee. Much of the abuse was perpetrated by this individual, Elijah Schaefer, but Mrs. Watson's claims also implicates officers of The Blaze not interceding to correct the manifest problems that they created. Manny DeFingo knows of Eliza Cutts from her scene dating Jeffree Star, Make Him a Romance. DeFingo wrote Twitter files. Yeah, so I remember he said in his Twitter thread that he did know her and that he... Yeah, Gerard Way, not Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star was the one, the complete creep in the whole MySpace fashion makeup scene. That, yeah, dude is a complete perv. Miss Watson complained the misconduct continually from December 2021 to August 2022 to various personnel of The Blaze, including but not limited to The Blaze CEO Tyler Cardone. Mr. Cardone and The Blaze did nothing to address the grievous misconduct, totally abdicating both their legal responsibilities to Miss Watson and their moral responsibilities to Miss Watson, and as well as The Blaze's own loyal audience, to the point that CEO Tyler Cardone, who should have protected Miss Watson's rights and the integrity of the program, asked Miss Watson to get Schaefer to stop talking about dicks so much on the show. See, this I believe being possible. I mean, I could see that happening. The conduct set forth below was based on Miss Watson's gender and her religious beliefs, and violated both the law, the company's purported procedures and policies, as well as the principles The Blaze and Mr. Beck represented to their audience. And again, what else are they supposed to call it if it's not religious beliefs? And I get it. People are like, well, she's not a conservative because she's an atheist. I think that's up for debate. But furthermore, there's not a word for atheism as a belief system, so I think it falls under the umbrella definition of religion. It's a stupid point I've heard people make. It's like, oh, it's not a religion, she's an atheist. It's a system. Evolution's a faith. It's a theory, okay? Same with atheism, same with any sort of theism, same with any religion. So you have to give it a word. So unfortunately, in this situation, legally, the word is religion. It's freedom of religion. She's allowed to believe what she wants to believe. It doesn't have to be a system of, worshiping a god. Yeah, she's associated with both for different reasons, but yeah. All right, let's see. We'll skip over the boring crap. All right, summary of facts. Plaintiff Sydney Watson is a promising young voice in the conservative commentary space with, prior to this, no limits to her potential for advancement. And again, this is turning off a lot of people because they're like, oh, she sounds like a leftist, she sounds like a liberal. It's like, guys, this is legal speak. If she feels she was wronged, she has to use a lawyer to use legal speak to go after her former employer. She can't sue Elijah. He was her coworker. That'd be a completely different suit. This is over wrongful termination, which is where the actual money is. But people are all like, oh, this is just left-wing talking points. It's legalese. People have like really weird views on this. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, she hung around him. No, Star wasn't into the ladies. At least that's what I gathered from that. Maybe he was into both, but most of the allegations were men. After she gained prominence as a YouTuber, the Blaze saw her talent and demonstrated her worth by offering her a multi-year agreement that would pay Miss Watson significant amounts. The maximum value of the agreement is approximately $1.275 million, most of which Miss Watson will not be paid because of the Blaze's misconduct. I don't know how much she actually got paid, to be fair. But the pay was only one factor in Miss Watson choosing the Blaze over other opportunities. But yeah, he's flamboyant. On pre-Twitter campsite, so his stuff got used by both BX Bullet and Brittany Venti after the... Wait. Also on the pre-Twitter campsite, so his stuff got used by both BX Bullet and Brittany. Huh. See, I always thought... I never connected BX Bullet to anybody significant. I just thought she was a Twitch thought that also was a firearms instructor and was just causing drama with Destiny. Like, literally, I couldn't have gotten... Savall said that she also went to management and they blew her off. Yeah, again, I can 100% see that. I can totally buy into that. And Savannah Hernandez, I don't see as somebody in any way that needs to make shit up to advance her career. She's doing fantastic. She's an incredible reporter. Blaze represented itself as an incubator of talent that helped accelerate the careers of such conservative commentary superstars as Dana Loesch and Tommy Lauren. Further, the Blaze represented itself as living the moral values that its talent, including Glenn Beck, preached to its audience. And see, this is the stuff that, guys, this is legal talk. This sounds really petty and weird, but it's like they have to build a case. Based upon its representations, Miss Watson expected to be part of an environment that would allow her to grow and develop, but that would also treat her and others with respect and dignity. Sadly, that did not happen. She was to co-host a show with Elijah Schaefer. They started production of You Are Here. It was not to be a sexually explicit show, nor was it intended to be actively misogynistic. And the misogynistic thing is where people are like really getting hung up to go, oh my God, she's using the term misogyny. She's a left-wing grifter. And it's like, you do realize that people that worked at Fox News that got sexually harassed by Bill O'Reilly were probably conservatives or at least right-leaning people. Misogyny doesn't... You can be a misogynist and a conservative. You can be a misogynist and a liberal. You can still be accused of misogyny by a right-winger. It's like, it doesn't mean you're a left-wing person. Oh, so BX Bullet was feeding info to Tim Pool Crew and had some beef with Brittany Venti. Oh, that's probably one of those, I'm not as hot as she is, and I don't know, whatever that crap is. BX Bullet, from what I saw, her drama was that she's a single mom. Her daughter was half dressed, ran onto her stream. Somebody screenshotted it, shared it in a Discord server, which is disgusting. But like, it was this big thing back and forth. I think it happened on Destiny's Discord. I can't remember. There was like this blackmail thing. But it eventually, like, once the serious part of the story died down, then it just turned into drama. It just turned into complete garbage. So that's why I was like, I'm done following this woman. She's just an attention whore. I can't do this anymore. So Tommy Lauren, my wife liked her, like when she first got on the scene. I listened to her one time. I'm like, I can't do it. I also, guys, I think that you can have nuance. I love the term nuance because I think Kyle Rittenhouse 100% was innocent, and I also think he's a dumbass. I have no use for Kyle Rittenhouse, but he's 100% was in his right to defend himself. He was not guilty. He was proven not guilty. I'm so happy about that, but I can't stand the kid. Like, he offers nothing of value, in my opinion. He's just a dum-dum, okay? He needs to get a serious lawyer, get a serious lawsuit, sue for a bunch of money, and then go buy an island somewhere and be happy. I'm sick of seeing him out posing like, I don't know. I feel like there's just, why is it that right-wingers grab onto anybody who's on their side that's relevant for the moment? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, if he was my kid, I would have kicked his ass. Like, what the hell are you doing? 17 years old, go into some town 17 miles away to go defend stores, but it's like the local PD isn't going to defend it. If it was your hometown, they're breaking into your house, defend it 100%. Let's see, I think you can too, but late-term abortion's kind of a crazy hit on the conservative label. Yeah, not really sure you can be conservative and pro late-term abortion. I'm not sure who that would be referencing. Is that what caused all this stuff to blow up because of the whole Eliza Blue thing going on Tim Pool, Brittany Venti, BX Bullet? That's a weird intersection of drama. Holy shit. That makes my brain hurt thinking about it. Okay, more legal talk here. Skip over that. All right, You Are Here was taped on set. We all know that. Okay, 19. The show was initially successful and was growing its audience as hoped. However, Mr. Schaefer's persona on the show became increasingly aggressive and soon began to veer into outright misogyny. Now, again, the lawyer claiming misogyny, that's the term he has to use. That's the legal term that he's choosing to use. They'll use the terms harassment, and those kind of things because it's setting up a legal case. But people keep focusing on this fact that she used misogyny in this legal document. It's like, what else was she supposed to call it? Okay, you can be traditional and an alpha gigachad male without shitting on women. Like, it is possible to do both, you know? He appeared to enjoy the intimidation factor that his physical size gave him with respect to Miss Watson. Again, that one, I don't know what that means. People have clung to that and gone, what does she mean? That she was intimidated by him because he was bigger than her? It's like, I don't know, maybe she was. I can't speak to that. The choice of guests compounded Miss Watson's growing discomfort with the anti-female tone of the show and the off-air interactions with her co-host. And this is where I'm going to say, this is the one part of me that's going to simp for her a tiny bit. Every comment that I've read from people on a particular person's YouTube videos about this is, oh, she was just stupid. She was there to be pretty. She was there to have a hot girl read the super chat. She offered nothing to the show. I don't think they would have given her $1.3 million to co-host a show if she was just a pair of tits with that could read super chats. Just saying, if that's what they were going for, they would have found some stupid skank with her boobs hanging out, which Sydney never did. But now you got people on people's like YouTube videos calling her a thought, calling her a hoe, calling her a grifter, calling her just another like, this dude called her Eliza Blue 2.0. Okay, this is where I've been rubbed the wrong way over this entire thing because, like, if her case has no water, if it doesn't have any like validity, then fine, the case gets shot down. I know that's the thing. So we'll get to this other guy's video in a second, and you can tell me. We'll kind of end it with that. I want to get through this legal case real quick here. So didn't like the choice of guests, and quite frankly, like, I'm not a Nick Fuentes guy myself, so I can understand that. December 3rd, 2021, notorious bigot Nick Fuentes appeared on You Are Here. He was grossly misogynistic, which is funny because Nick Fuentes is like smaller than me. I don't think he's ever been laid. He's probably in the closet, to be honest. It was at about this time the environment on the production began to become notably more hostile, not merely to Miss Watson, but to many women at the Blaze. Well, again, they have Savannah Hernandez, her statement that Elijah groped her. It's like, oh, what are you guys doing? Hey, kitty, kitty. Cat sitting for my mom, so I got the two cats here right now. On December 17th, 2021, Jack Murphy appeared. Jack Murphy appears. Miss Watson found Murphy grossly misogynistic, and he shouted at Miss Watson when she read a YouTube livestream super chat question from a viewer regarding his controversial past. Okay, we all saw that. Everyone's seen most people have seen the video. The whole, fuck you, heartfelt. That's not in dispute. Everyone's seen it. Anybody who knows about this story has seen it. That was 100% what happened. After Murphy swore at Miss Watson and stormed out of the studio, Mr. Schaefer went out for drinks and dinner with Mr. Murphy to smooth it over. Miss Watson and members of the audience were upset at Mr. Schaefer's reaction and his tolerance of Murphy's abuse. Okay, so I'll say right there that doesn't mean anything. If Elijah's the host of the show and one of the guests storms off, it technically falls on him to go calm the guy down. Is it a dick move? Yeah, he should have been over there like actually checking on his co-host, but clearly they weren't friends. I think what we can gather from this is Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson were not friends. They were co-hosts. They worked together. This is a corporation. The Blaze is a multi-million-dollar corporation. The two of them had multi-million-dollar contracts. So as such, you have an HR department, you've got CEOs, you've got all these other people in place. You don't conduct yourself a certain way. It's not like a YouTube podcast like what Sydney and Quartering have now where they can make jokes and stuff that they're both comfortable with because they're friends. They don't work for a corporation. Neither one of them is the owner. They're not co-workers. They host a podcast together. So you can make any kind of joke you want, raunchy or otherwise. There's no HR department to go file a claim to, you know? Was she also friends with Jack? That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. So people try to make this correlation. They go, oh, well, you know, her and Jeremy on the quartering, they make all these jokes all the time. Not the same situation. This is not a multi-million-dollar a year business that her and Jeremy are running. They don't have like... This is not a corporation, okay? This is a podcast, the two of them, and they're friends. They've been friends for years. It's a whole different situation. Definitely not normal. Yeah, that's the thing. People have tried to defend this and gone, she's just being a left-wing grifter, and now she's complaining because at the time she couldn't get anything. It's like, guys, if you do this in any other corporate setting, you have a sexual harassment case like the next day. Okay, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I've always worked self-employed, worked for my family. We always hire people that were family friends. You have a different relationship when you're a different kind of business. If I was working for Starbucks, if I was working in some sort of corporate level at Target, if I was working for Costco, you don't conduct yourself the way you do around your family or your friends. This is a no-brainer. Yeah, and again, we'll just have to wait and see if there's a paper trail, if there's emails, if there's texts, if there's any phone recordings. That'll be what proves it. But to come out and attack her as a left-wing grifter because she filed a wrongful termination suit over a guy being sexually like inappropriate, I don't know. This dude. So it's this guy I've seen him on YouTube a couple of years ago, and all he was doing was recycling other people's content. Which is all he's doing now is like he's trying to be the next quartering, and so he's going for outrage clicks. No research on his topics. In fact, one of the people that was watching his video accused him of stealing his wording from a previous podcast they had watched on the topic. So not exactly the nicest guy himself, in my opinion. So Mr. Schaefer told Miss Watson that he refused to control Murphy because Miss Watson was a woman and stated that if he demanded his guest stop his abuse, Miss Watson would have looked weaker. I don't know. She's claiming that it's this whole traditional conservative thing. The man is supposed to stand up for the woman. I mean, she'd be happy about that, wouldn't she? Hey, thanks for this sub, DJ Mac. Appreciate it. So it says, Mr. Schaefer unilaterally booked several additional guests with particularly contemptible and sexist opinions towards women, typically without consulting Miss Watson or letting her know the extent of these opinions. It became clear to Miss Watson that on each of these episodes, she was to be the designated punching bag for the sexist guests and for Mr. Schaefer himself. Miss Watson's a serious journalist, and she did not agree to assume that demeaning role, nor was she warned about it in advance. And again, another defense I've heard is, well, every show has the punching bag. She should have known that. It's like, they're co-hosts. People are assuming because she's a woman that she's A, lying, B, a grifter or a left-winger, or C, that she was just a pair of tits that was there to read the super chats. Which, I'm sorry, that sounds kind of misogynistic too, right? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, God, it's so tough. Like, how does somebody's criminal unless, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like there are certain crimes you commit you should never see the light of day. That dude that decided he was a woman after doing stuff to a 3-month-old, and now he's in a women's prison where they have mothers and infants. I don't think he should be breathing right now, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's so tough. It's so tough with, how do you lose your rights forever even after you're out of jail? You're not serving life in prison, you know? Most people don't think Sarah would lie about that stuff. She's actually pretty flexible with dirty jokes. Wait, Sarah Gonzalez claimed that also? Because I knew Savannah Hernandez claimed it. God, Sarah Gonzalez too. Yeah, I mean, guys, it's like, these are not women who need a leg up, no pun intended. They don't need help in their career, okay? People saw him grope her. Yeah, I was pretty sure it was like at like some sort of party or something, and again, he drank a little too much. It should be noted that a significant part of Mr. Schaefer's audience calls itself traditional, but actual traditional values have nothing to do with the abuse and of contempt for women. 100% agree. This portion of Mr. Schaefer's audience, which he cultivates, simply uses the idea of tradition as a cover for its extreme misogyny. Such viewers often floated you or hears discussions with super chats and grossly sexist comments that made Miss Watson extremely uncomfortable and prevented her from performing her duties. doesn't mean she's a liberal. Maybe she's thin-skinned, guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest. If she's in a situation where she knows the super chats are going to be raunchy, and that's kind of the way that the show unfortunately has been set up, maybe she's got a claim against her employer because they let it get to that point, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. I don't think that labels her as a left-winger. Yeah, a lot of people can't stand Elijah, as it turns out. And not that that means he's guilty. Not liking somebody doesn't mean he's guilty of a crime. Second, the trail of Blaze Hour documents and filing complaints, other staff performing after the show. Yeah, the super chats have nothing to do with Elijah. You can claim that he cultivated the environment that allowed the guests to feel like that's kind of like the nature of the show. That, again, I'm not saying that her case is actually going to pan out. I have no idea. I'm not a lawyer. What I'm getting irritated with, though, is people who... I mean, okay, Jack Murphy. People dogpiled Jack Murphy after he told her, fuck you, heartfelt. Okay, he was the butt of the jokes. She made t-shirts and stuff, and people ate it up. Now those same people are going back and going, oh, well, she was just a lefty and she couldn't take a joke because of Jack. It's like, you guys were all dogpiling Jack Murphy a year ago. Well, Sour Patch, I'm getting to the YouTuber in question, and honestly, the more I think about it, the more irritated I am by this dude. So I watched a video of his a year and a half ago. So I love Overlord DVD. Great rumor, YouTuber, but he actually has sources that give him the rumors, okay? But again, they're just rumors. Entertainment, Hollywood stuff, whatever. Nothing political. But this dude that I was watching, literally all he would do would take the rumors that Overlord DVD was reporting on and cover those. And people were like, dude, where are your sources? You're just covering somebody else's rumors. And so the guy, I mean, he's got like 20,000 subscribers. So he's clearly doing something right, because I've seen him gain like 1,000 since this whole Tim Pool, Eliza, Sydney Watson thing. But it's like, at some point, are you going to create something? Are you going to investigate something for yourself? Or are you just going to regurgitate everybody else's drama, everybody else's rumors? Are you just going to like use all the clickbaity words and shit? I don't know. I don't know why they paired the two together. It's a bad combination. Really bad. And again, okay, no matter how many times she asked Mr. Schaefer to address the issue and to end the hostile atmosphere of harassment, which she did repeatedly, he would not. Now, I guess in that situation, yes, he could have, as the lead host of the show, told the viewers, guys, we need to cool it on some of this stuff. I don't think that's necessarily his job. Maybe that should have come down from above. I mean, but she isn't suing Elijah. She's suing the Blaze. So she's putting blame where it belongs. Yes, the Blaze is the one with the deep pockets. You don't sue somebody who doesn't have deep pockets. Anybody who knows anything knows you don't sue somebody who doesn't have money. Okay? This is common sense. Yeah, you don't have to hate women to be anti-feminism. And all the comments I'm reading are guys who are literally like, okay, you're single, you're single, you're single, you're probably going to be single, you're probably never going to get married. It's like, you don't have to be anti-woman to hate feminism or to be anti-feminist. You can literally have it both ways. You can do both. So it became a running gag for Mr. Schaefer and his audience that some of Mr. Schaefer's fans would leave super chat comments with coded dog whistles that referenced grossly misogynistic and or anti-Semitic comments for Miss Watson to read without her knowing what they meant. So the dog whistle term, once again, Sydney didn't write this letter. This document was written by a lawyer. People are just dogpiling Sydney because the dog whistle term. Oh, that's something only a liberal would say. Liberals have appropriated the term. The term was not created by a liberal. Dog whistles have been around forever. The term exists because dog whistles are something only a dog can hear, and so their ears pick up on it, right? The term has always existed. Yes, in modern speak now, liberals have appropriated that term 100%. Doesn't mean in a legal document that this is coming from somebody who's a lefty. Like, it's the biggest... I can't even stand it. Dude, Sour Patch, you're literally speaking my language right now. Because I don't know if this is real or if this is going to pan out for her. It could all be a bunch of bullshit. Who knows? But they've literally decided that because she's filed a sexual harassment wrongful termination suit, that she's a thought, a hoe, a lefty, a grifter, a liberal. It's like, dude, come up with actual evidence. If she has a past like Candace Owens of being an out-and-out liberal, absolutely fine. Then call her out for what it is, and then, whatever. But, like, they're all going after her looks. They're all going after just the fact that she's a woman. Oh, Peanut, 100%. I've been married now we just had our 13th wedding anniversary back in January. And my wife, she can take jokes. She's the stay-at-home mom, but she also works. She has her own little Etsy shop. And she'd rather just be a stay-at-home mom, but she has to work to help pay the bills. It's like things have gotten so expensive that she's figured out ways to help pay the bills. But it's like, she doesn't like feminism. She doesn't like the woke crap. She can't stand the way most women think about things. She doesn't like the way women drive. She's very misogynistic in that sense. But neither one of us, it's like there's a difference between being traditional and hating women. Bart Simeon calling Moe's bar to become a thing on the show. See, I don't know because I never watched the show. I don't know anything about that. So Mr. Schaefer would also consistently make disrespectful comments about the fact that Miss Watson's an atheist. This also encouraged the audience to attack her, something she must still put up with today and did not happen before Mr. Schaefer made an issue. And people have said, well, she made a big deal about her being an atheist and stuff. I'm like, no, I know Elijah Schaefer based on everything that he posts, everything that he says. The dude is like out and out. He's one of these guys like Cernovich. He's one of these absolutists that if he says something on Twitter and you disagree, he either blocks you or explains why you're a piece of shit. I mean, I can see this being a thing. And again, atheism is protected under religious freedom. There's nothing else that you can protect it under. It's not protected under philosophical freedom. We don't have that in this country. We have freedom of religion. Atheism is covered under that. Oh my God, dude, same here. My wife hates all that stuff. Let's see. Much of the conduct that created the hostile work environment was of explicitly sexual nature, which again, if true, which a lot of it was, you can't have that in a corporation, guys. Whether you think in a perfect world you could talk about whatever you want to and there wouldn't be an HR department, the fact is we're playing by the rules we have now. That's how you know the religious point is valid? Until she was on the show or wasn't on the show? Oh, you mean like the fact that Elijah was dogging her for being an atheist? Yeah. The great gorilla mindset of Cernovich. That dude, I'm not even going to get started on, but he's besties with Jack Murphy, and that says everything right there. Mr. Schaefer would endlessly reference sex, often in specifically gay sex, and discuss penises, among other sexual matter, often graphically in front of the guests and Miss Watson. CEO Tyler Cardone even asked Miss Watson to get Mr. Schaefer to stop talking about dicks so much. I'm telling you, Elijah's in the closet. She told Mr. Cardone that if he wanted to stop, he must talk to Mr. Schaefer himself, as Mr. Schaefer refused to listen to women, something Mr. Schaefer proudly admits. Working with a man who would not ever listen to her solely because she is female was insulting and damaged her ability to perform her duties. It did not help that Mr. Schaefer would get drunk on set, and this is verifiable. This is legit. And people wanted to compare this to the quartering and say, oh, well, the Jeremy gets drunk on his live streams. Jeremy can do whatever the hell he wants to as long as it's legal on his own podcast on YouTube because he's not working for a corporation. He doesn't have an HR department. It's a dude live streaming from his basement. He can, if it's not illegal, he can do whatever he wants. Oh, until she was on the show. Okay. It was impossible to work professionally in an environment where their co-host was drunk and impaired. And again, this is not just her that's made this claim. Hostile work environment created by Mr. Schaefer was taking a toll on Miss Watson. She was so disturbed and stressed by Mr. Schaefer's conduct that she experienced significant vertigo. She had to sit out of a number of shows because of it. I don't know because I didn't watch the show. I have no idea. Maybe Glenn isn't the guy that we all think he is. And I don't know that much about Glenn Beck. I kind of like his opinions on certain things. I remember when I was a Bush-loving Republican, I thought Glenn Beck sucked because he would criticize Bush. Now here we are, 12 years in the future, and I'm like, oh my God, I get it now, right? Typical hard-right, pro-conservative, anti-gay marriage, etc. Yeah. I have a different view on the whole gay marriage thing, but it's more about regulating marriage. Make civil unions the only thing governments can do, and then marriage is only done by churches. And then marriage has to be a religious thing, but it's a whole different topic. Did you hear Tucker yelling earlier? He was just laying there. All of a sudden, he's like, I don't know what he was doing. Oh, that's why he was meowing. He was probably mad at him. Hostile work environment created by Mr. Schaefer was taking a toll on Miss Watson. She was so disturbed and stressed by Mr. Schaefer's conduct that she experienced significant vertigo. Oh, okay, I already read that. She had vertigo because of it. That's weird. Your mom's got vertigo. Maybe she was on Elijah Schaefer's show. Platforms a lot of neocons, not as many as Dave Rubin, but sometimes they cringe at his choice of guests. Dave Rubin is something else. Dave Rubin, I'm not a fan. Dave Rubin was one of these guys that him and Jeremy Boring from Daily Wire were having this conversation on Twitter a month or two ago, where they're basically like shitting on anybody that could pay for Twitter Blue. Like, oh yes, but then how are we going to see each other talking on Twitter if we can see all the plebs talking? Like, but we like having our special badge where we can only see each other. It's like, dude, go screw yourself, whatever. Like, and I was thinking about buying Twitter Blue until the whole Eliza Blue thing happened. And I'm like, no, nothing with the word blue in it. Nikki Haley, did she actually make the announcement that she's running for president? Was that a confirmed thing? Because my God, that'll be the shortest candidacy ever. Is it bad? Well, Nikki Haley's this news fest, okay? Nikki Haley is as much as you can get from somebody who's a neocon trying to act like a not neocon. Trying to act like a badass, you know. Yeah. Reminds me of them rich televangelists doing prophecy talk, but he's a Mormon. Glenn Beck's a Mormon? I didn't know that. That's funny. I gotta chew on that now. That makes me kind of think about the things I've heard him say. We want to be elitist like Hollywood? Yeah. It's crazy. Like, all these guys, they don't realize, like, when they have these conversations on Twitter, like, dude, take it to the DMs, because all of us plebs, we're sitting here watching you guys kind of suck each other off, and it's like, this doesn't set well with most of your audience. Most of your audience is over here going, we want Twitter Blue because we want to be able to have the same verification as everybody else, as the left-wing journos, as all the important people, the elitists and stuff on Twitter. The Nikki Haley Bubba Wallace tweet, she was praying for Bubba Wallace or something. Did you see that? I'll have to pull that up later. I haven't seen that either. And the funny thing about Bubba Wallace is my wife's a NASCAR fan, and my oldest son is a huge, huge NASCAR fan. And so Bubba Wallace is kind of the ass into the jokes in our house. Elijah saying how he doesn't like Mormons. Oh my God. He worked for a Mormon. Maybe that's why. Shapiro trying to convince people how great Nikki Haley was. That doesn't surprise me. Shapiro's part of the, he's adjacent to the establishment, I'll say that. I don't care, good. Going really on, depending on written contract for the show, depends on how it's set up. Any big actor or comedian really boils down to the contract. Yeah, 100%. And we don't have access to all that. That's going to be in the court filings if this actually goes to court and they don't settle. It'll be really interesting to cover. I don't think it's the big enough trial that there's going to be like a live stream or shit like that. But it all comes down to how the contracts were set up. You're 100% correct. So they had a 2-hour meeting with everybody. I've read this before. Miss Watson expressed how much Mr. Schaefer's constant sexism and hostile unprofessional behavior on the show distracted and humiliated her, making it impossible for her to do her job. So this is a thing that the reactionaries kind of skim over when they go, oh, she's just a left-wing, feminist. It's like, they had a 2-hour meeting with the Blaze president and all these other people. It's like, this was a big deal that she was trying to get handled. This wasn't something that was just like, oh, she's coming back now a year later and complaining because now she doesn't have any money. Nikki Haley and Folk Sahanis war and debate would be one of the most boring and hilarious if it happened. I couldn't watch that. I mean, the Democratic National ones with Hillary, with the 3 or 4 guys that weren't actually debating her, were pretty boring. I couldn't watch that. There's no way. Expressed how much his constant sexism and professional behavior on the show distracted and humiliated her. She detailed the same regarding his constant offensive comments about women and pointed out how this is also encouraging some individuals in the audience to reflect this attitude. And this is where, like, she might have a valid point. I don't know if you could actually do anything in court with this, because people are going to say what they want to say. And if, you know what, a judge would probably say, well, if this bothered you, why didn't you guys set up in your moderation and your terms of service that people couldn't use certain words? Like, I guess, though, that does fall back on the Blaze. So Lindsey Graham endorsed Nikki Haley. No, I'm out. I'm out. That's the kiss of death right there. Turtle Man says yes. I say hell no. At this meeting, Mr. Schaefer asked Miss Watson point blank if the hostile sexism bothered her. She said yes. He also asked if it made her want to quit. She again said yes. Blaze management knew about this and agreed that this conduct was inappropriate, promising Miss Watson the management would address the issue, but the management failed to do so despite knowing the hostile work environment. Mr. Schaefer then refused to participate in production meetings until his demands were met. Told Miss Watson he would not be helping select guests. At this point, Mr. Schaefer refused to participate in daily show planning and refused to book guests. I think they already covered that. Romney next and Crenshaw to endorse her. Oh, God. Is there anybody worse than Dan Crenshaw? Is there anybody worse? I can't think of it. I think Dan Crenshaw is worse than Lindsey Graham. All the Texas legal stuff. And again, yeah, I don't know exactly how each state handles this kind of stuff. I've never been part of a wrongful termination. Part of the joy of being self-employed or working with your family. You don't go through this kind of shit. Miss Watson was subjected to public disparagement by Mr. Schaefer of a grossly sexual nature because this was an internet-based show. Social media interaction by Mr. Schaefer was a component of her participation in the show. He used social media in the context of the show to harass Miss Watson. And again, if she can prove it, I think that's a very big claim that's going to hurt the Blaze because that falls back on them. If the show is set up in a way where he gets the audience to interact and they get a joke going or something that's like a punchline and they just keep adding on. I mean, look, if it led to somebody's like demise, if they ended their life, you could be held liable. Like the family could sue and say your harassment of this person and your dogmatic attacking of this person caused them to kill themselves. Dan's worse because he'll be alive longer. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Although I swear these people, it's like they live forever and then they just drop dead one day and you go, oh my God, that person was still alive. Like Nancy Pelosi's going to be out of politics for 20 years before she finally passes away. I did. Dianne Feinstein's not going to run for re-election. No. So somebody told her you're not running for re-election. That's hilarious. Yeah, and then people will say, oh, it's only about the money. If she does settle out of court and doesn't take him to court, they'll say, oh, all she wanted was money. Well, what else is she going to get out of it, guys? It's like conservatives and right-wingers sue for money all the time. This is the craziest thing. People have taken this approach that women and left-wingers are the only two people who sue anybody for money. Blows my mind. I'm like, since when have conservatives not sued people? It does happen all the time. I mean, look, what's his face? Nick Sandman sued all these cable corporations. We have no idea how much money he got, but he settled. Should he have not taken whatever the payoff was? Should he have stood on his morals and taken him to court and made him have a trial? Maybe, but he settled for money. Nobody's attacking Nick Sandman, okay? Just crazy. And then you have the tweet where... yeah, Elijah Schaefer told Sebastian Gorka that he hopes Miss Watson saw the tweet and sleeps with him. This disgraceful comment in the context of a well-known and respected member of the conservative community. I don't know how well respected. I've kind of gotten over Sebastian Gorka. He's way too pushing for war with Ukraine. And one who himself is happily married to an accomplished woman was devastating to Miss Watson. I imagine as a woman that'd be pretty infuriating. She looks out for him, tells him to cut back on his drinking without insulting him. I don't really think she's a terrible person. No, Pina, I don't think so either. And that people like me who are indifferent to Sydney Watson but don't have an axe to grind with her are called simps by some people. And I'm like, dude, if Sydney Watson stopped recording content tomorrow, I wouldn't care. She literally has no effect on my life. I don't even watch her video. I've been subscribed to her for like a year and a half. I've probably watched one video. I watched the one where she was between the two fat people on the airplane. That was kind of funny. But like that was the last one I even watched. I haven't even been like watching her videos. Gorka's tweet was referring to the situation where Mr. Schaefer sat silently and said nothing while Jack Murphy shouted abuse at her during the show. This was too much. And again, you could see that. She was rattled. You could honestly see that in the video. Unable to perform her duties within the hostile work environment any longer, Ms. Watson immediately texted the Blaze CEO Tyler Cardone and President Gaston Mooney and informed that she cannot continue this way. Schaefer texted Ms. Watson an apology some days later, but did not delete his appalling tweet. The offending tweets were still accessible as of the time of Ms. Watson's administrative complaint. Bless you. Ties back to Tim Pool, to Jack Murphy, somehow Jeremy the Courting, who's now getting grief for working with her. Peak audience outrage culture. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Well, and it's not so much like, it's not the entire audience. I think most people, unlike what Tim Pool says, where literally I think he's probably going to lose a third of his viewers because of this entire thing, because of the way he acted. I don't think this affects Sydney or the Quartering either way. I think their viewers are their viewers, and the ones who aren't. The weird thing is the outrage clicks that YouTubers are getting going after her for being a liberal or a fake or a grifter or a whore. And it's like, dude, she literally is like the most clothed female I've ever seen on a YouTube channel. The woman doesn't show like her forearm. Somebody even said she dresses like a lesbian. I'm like, well, that kind of goes counter to what you're saying then, because these people are calling her a thought. And I'm like, dude, she is like the last person to be whoring herself out on YouTube. Blaze management was fully aware that they had a problem with Mr. Schaefer, but he was their star. And again, that's 100% true. I didn't watch the shows. I knew who Eliza Schaefer was. Before Jack Murphy and all that, I didn't know Sydney Watson's name. So he 100% was the star of the show, okay? He was abusive and sexist to other women at the Blaze as well. Miss Watson is informed and believes that other women also complained to management about him to no avail, which has been backed up by Savannah and Hernandez. She tried to find a solution to the deteriorating situation. She's been having interactions with the Blaze officers since January 2022, alerting them of Mr. Schaefer's behavior, the things he did and said that created the hostile environments, the continuing sexism he expressed, and how hostile he made the work environments. Well, yeah, exactly. People think it's a big deal to sue and get sued, but it's just a normal, ordinary part of business. I heard Meta and Google get sued almost every 2 minutes, in fact. Yeah, and it's not just by liberals. That's the stupidest thing. Suing somebody for money doesn't make you a liberal. Maybe it makes you opportunistic. Maybe it makes you unethical. There are plenty of both of those types of things in the conservative sphere. You know Elijah from the riots? That's where my wife... Didn't he work with Steven Crowder? Because my wife knew Elijah Schaefer from his on-the-ground reporting. That's where she actually liked his content, was when he was actually down on the ground. Again, I didn't really care. He was just another guy on Twitter that I followed. He didn't work for Crowder, but did he ever correspond with Crowder? Okay, so during Chop Chaz thing, he actually corresponded with Crowder. Okay. Our laundry is in the dryer, yes. And it should be dry. Do you need me to grab something? Babe, do you need me to grab something? Let me know if you can't. She's not supposed to be bending. She had surgery. Do you need my help? All right. Do you need it, or can I come get it in a minute? Okay, cool. All right, I can get that. Tyler Cardone called her and indicated that he had told Mr. Schaefer that she had left and that the show was over. Miss Watson told him that she was extremely upset. For this period of, and you know, I imagine that for Sydney Watson, this is probably one of those things where she thought she was just going to be like, okay, you know what, fine. He's the star of the show. I'll leave. I can't take this anymore. It's not mentally healthy for me. He'll still have the show, replace me with a different co-host. And at that point, if they'd have kept the show around, if they thought Elijah was worth keeping, they would have just replaced her. That right there speaks volumes. Guys, if she was replaceable, they would have replaced her. I mean, think about that for a second. Why would they have just canned the show outright unless there was a bigger issue behind the scenes? If they knew for half a second that if they put another female on there that was just, like these other guys say, halfway attractive, they'd have more of the same shit. That's sweet. Oh, the wife? Yeah, she's not supposed to be doing too much. She had surgery like 5 weeks ago, and so she's supposed to be recovering for a few months. She's not supposed to be doing any heavy lifting, nothing strenuous, and so she's so irritated. She's sick and tired of not being able to pick stuff up, bend over, do half the shit she used to do, but it's like, you'll be fine eventually. You gotta take it slow. Maybe that's me being misogynistic, I don't know. That was a joke. Let's see. Through this period of time, Miss Watson informed management that Mr. Schaefer had publicly disparaged her and continued to do things that have hurt her reputation. Well, there's proof of that. That tweet is proof of public disparagement. Telling her to sleep with Sebastian Gorka. I mean, that right there is proof. How much effect it has, I mean, that's for a court to decide, or for a judge, or for the lawyers to hammer out. During this period, Mr. Schaefer was still with the Blaze. A few weeks later, Miss Watson asked management if she could address what was going on with the audience. Many members of the audience were loyal and decent, and Miss Watson felt an obligation to them, especially since they paid money to subscribe to The Blaze in order to watch You Are Here. Mr. Cardone reminded her that she was contractually obligated to ask permission before making a public statement. The Blaze asked that she email its management before she went public with the workshopped version of the announcement, and Miss Watson did that. She cooperated in coordinating the message. See, this doesn't sound like somebody who's like off their rocker, screaming. It's like, why she waited to sue them, I don't know. It could be maybe that she's hurting for money now. 100% could be that she's realizing, you know what, I should have stuck up for myself and I should have made a big fuss about it. Whatever her recollection or realization about what the decision she made was regarding leaving the Blaze, if she's within her legal right, if there's no statute of limitations, if she's able to say, you know what, that wasn't right, I need to address this and deal with it now, she's within her right to do so. Again, whether she has a case or not is up to a court, to a judge. Don't know who Sydney is, but she looks a lot like Kate Middleton. She's just a Australian atheist conservative YouTuber. I mean, and people have made claims that she's not really conservative and stuff. I haven't ever seen her post anything that's like left-wing or liberal. They're making this big stink about the fact that she's got a legal document drawn up by a big shot lawyer with terms like misogyny and dog whistling, and they're going, oh my God, she's a left-wing radical. She's a lunatic. Guys, she's trying to get money. The lawyer's going to do the things he needs to do to get money. And Kurt Schlichter is the lawyer, and he's not a left-winger either. So it's like, it's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. Like, Kurt Schlichter would not be using these terms as a left-winger. He's using them in a legal sense. In May 2022, The Blaze finally made a community post on You Are Here's YouTube channel telling people that the show was on hiatus. The Blaze had not once said a single thing about this show, about what happened, or addressed what would happen going forward. I don't know how much more of this is necessarily needed. Let's see. What Miss Watson ultimately posted was on Twitter and was posted on May 15th, 2022. Mr. Schaefer responded to this, saying this was the first he was hearing that the show was over. Mr. Schaefer also posted this to his Telegram when he said that he was not a liar and didn't believe the hype. This was not true which he admitted to on a live stream with another very prominent YouTuber, Nick Rekieta. This publicly disparaged Miss Watson as a liar. So basically, he claimed that he got blindsided and didn't know, and she said, no, you've known for like a month. Old school big media, set camera, large staff, TV studio, very expensive. Seems to be a big media issue trying to do shows way overproduced. I think, honestly, the sweet spot has been where a lot of these places like Daily Wire and The Blaze, Louder with Crowder, that kind of stuff, you can get the super chat revenue, you get the YouTube ad revenue, and you get the big corporate dollars behind you, you get the ad sponsorship. You kind of have it all, and you keep your production cost under what like mainstream media, old school media like CNN, Fox, and MSNBC have. As long as you keep your costs down, you have the same potential reach, if not further, but less overhead. And I think there's like that sweet spot to be found, but unfortunately it seems like between The Blaze and Daily Wire, with all the drama coming out, it's like, so what seemed like it was going to be a potential win for conservative or right-wing or traditional media, if you will, or new media, alt media, it just seems like there is so much of that same corporate, incestuous, scummy cover-up behavior. Whether or not she wins this lawsuit, the fact is Elijah is kind of a skeezy dude. And unfortunately, it seems like that's happened a lot within this sphere of people. I mean, it's sad, but it's human nature, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's the power that corrupts the personalities, or the personalities that are drawn to power. I don't know. Mr. Schaefer also then went to his Twitter and posted a series of bizarre tweets about the situation, such as, I haven't played a single card, I just got professionally dumped by text, LOL, and so forth. More disparagement by Mr. Schaefer while he was still with The Blaze. On a Nick Rekieta live stream in May, Mr. Schaefer made comments about how he helped a female friend make a lot of money who then stabbed him in the back. People immediately understood that he meant Miss Watson and were quick to send clips to her. This is obviously also untrue, but damaged Miss Watson's reputation in the industry. On another stream, Mr. Schaefer contended that he had nothing to do with an incident that he caused where a guest thought Miss Watson was trying to blindside him. The insinuation was that Miss Watson was the one who arranged the conflict. At a movie premiere at the end of July 2022, again while still affiliated with The Blaze, Mr. Schaefer told Harrison Smith of InfoWars and Scooter Downey, an influential Fox News employee, and Scooter's wife, that Miss Watson tried to get his wife to divorce him and he had to sue her to keep her quiet. He told others that Miss Watson called him and threatened to go public with information about personal indiscretions. This was all completely false. Now, again, if this is true, if what Sydney is saying is true and that he claimed that he had to sue her to keep quiet, that would be a legal filing. There'd be this exact same kind of document, right? There'd be proof of that. There'd be a paper trail. So either she's lying about his claim or he's lying about suing her. And again, it goes all back to the same thing. Wrongful termination, sexual harassment, possibly defamation. But again, she's not going to get anything for a defamation suit, which is why they're not filing defamation. This was all completely false. Mr. Schaefer also told several people that Miss Watson had made passes at him and tried to hit on him more than one occasion. This is also false. And I believe that I could see. I could see Elijah being full of himself enough to say, oh yeah, she came on to me. Like, really, dude? Okay. Suing Blaze is the only way she can break away from her contract with them if she signed one, so maybe she waited this long. I don't know. Like I said, I got a feeling it'll either get dismissed or settled out of court. It would be so interesting if it went to court, because just to see the receipts, to see the evidence, I'm not saying that she's correct or that she's 100% truthful or that this is going to end on her side. That's the thing. A simp would say, oh my God, I believe everything she's saying. I'm just saying I could see it because I've seen Elijah's behavior. I've seen the testimony of people who've said he's a scumball. The Blaze constructively terminated Miss Watson in the spring of 2022, or alternatively actively terminated her in or about July 2022 after she complained through counsel. Well, then she wouldn't have a contract if she was terminated. If she was terminated back last July, then her contract is null and void. They would have had some termination clause in her contract, some sort of money, whatever, that she would have left with, I'm sure. But again, it all depends on how the contract was negotiated in the first place. Okay, the Blaze announced on September 24th that Schaefer had been terminated for violating company policy and standards after an investigation regarding a personal matter. And Ms. Watson is informed and believes that alleged wrongdoing of Mr. Schaefer physically harassing one or more female Blaze employees. Look, so whether or not you say Elijah is just trying to, or Sydney's just trying to get a paycheck, she's just trying to cash in, she's just trying to do this. They literally fired the man for violating company policies and standards after investigating a personal matter. Well, they had evidence of him drinking on set. He was drinking during the show. That's not evidence of a violation of company policy or standards, okay? It goes deeper than that. Going through the state employee labor board takes a very long time. I 100% believe that. No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's about the extent of it. Then it gets into a lot of the legalese stuff again. What they're suing for, how much. It really comes down to the hostile work environment and wrongful termination is what it comes down to, it looks like. But here's the thing about Sydney Watson. Like, people have been like, oh, and she's a failing YouTuber, and she got out there on her own and realized she wasn't going to be making that much money. Okay, fine. So from just her YouTube channel alone, she's not going to have a $1.3 million contract. Fair enough, okay? That being said, if you look at her social blade for the last couple years, I mean, you see a weekly subscriber gain across, going back to from 2020. Like, even before she was, before she left the Blaze, she was gaining new subscribers. Yeah, some months were lower than others. Sometimes she didn't gain any. She lost as many as she gained. But she'd have peaks of like 1 week, April 2021 to May 2021, gained 11,000 subscribers in 1 week, okay? This is something where it's like, if she had a channel that was stagnant, if she had a channel that was bleeding subscribers, if she was an H3 podcast, if that's how she was, that might be a whole different story. But just in January, since January 17th, she's got a daily average of plus 600 subscribers on YouTube, guys. Weekly average of 4.2 thousand subscribers gained. In the last 30 days, she's gained 18,000. She's estimated yearly to gain 216,000, which means that her current subscriber total, she's going to break 1 million subscribers this year, probably in the next 6 months. Projected ad revenue from that yearly estimate has as low as 8,000 up to 126,000 at her current pace. No, it's not $1.3 million, but let's say that that's even close to accurate. Let's err on the side of the long end of the spectrum. Let's say that she, off ad revenue, and not even counting merchandise, not even counting super chats, not even counting memberships, Well, maybe we'll lump in memberships because let's count in ad revenue and memberships into this 126,000. But let's not add in super chats and any other merch that she sells. Just off ad revenue and maybe memberships, $120,000 is no small amount of money. Is it 1.3 million? No, not even close. But the thing about it is, you're not talking about somebody who's penniless, who's homeless, who's destitute. Maybe she's gone all dark side Phil and she's racked up, $140,000 in back taxes that she can't pay and she's begging for money. I don't see that happening. Of the videos I've watched Sydney Watson in, she's not begging anybody for members. She's not shilling some crappy mobile game. She's not out there like hoeing herself out. She doesn't have an OnlyFans. It's like, it's not the same thing. It's not this person that is desperate for money, clawing their way, day by day, trying to... It's not that circumstance. But people are making it out to be the situation where now that she's hit the wall and she's 29 and oh my God, she's going to be 30 soon and she realized that her looks are fading. It's like, dude, where is this even coming from? So, okay. Big reveal. It's not a big deal. It's this dude, Justin, is lost, okay? I don't know how many of you guys are subscribed. I subscribed to his channel because he had a couple decent videos I watched. Yeah, 100% Sour Patch. And again, you can have regret, and as long as there's no statute of limitation, no big deal. So this guy, since the Eliza Blue thing broke open, has decided that it's his mission to go after and make Sydney Watson Eliza Blue 2.0. He realized that his Eliza Blue videos were getting a lot of views. 94,000, 52,000 on Tim Pool, 53,000 on Eliza, 36,000 on Sydney here. This was a live stream too, I'm pretty sure. It's like trying to create the next Eliza Blue out of somebody who is completely unrelated. Let's see, Justin bores the hell out of me. Well, I'm not gonna disrespect the man. It's like, okay, so if he has videos that people like, I'm cool with that. My issue honestly goes back to like a year ago when I found his channel, and I'm not gonna go back through his catalog because he's got a lot of videos. He's got, I don't know how many videos, shit ton. When I first saw one of his videos, when I started watching the quartering, all he was trying to do was like copy like Doomcock's rumor videos and report on a rumor when he doesn't have any other information. It's like people were roasting him in the comments like, dude, this is just clickbait. This is just rumor. You got nothing new to say. And it's like, it's true. If you don't have anything, if you're not going to at least investigate, try to explain, try to expound on something, if you're just going to regurgitate the same stuff, at some point it's just clickbaity. It's just nothing new. And so he's decided that he's going to create Sydney Watson as Eliza 2.0. He even names her Eliza 2.0 in this video here. I couldn't believe it when I'm watching him say it. It says Sydney Watson versus Blaze goes nuclear, bombshells dropped about Elijah Schaefer and the Blaze. Okay. His format is slow, long shows. Later, he then cut into short takes. Interesting. Okay. Didn't they set up a LLC for the third joint show like 50-50? I don't know. They'd be smart to do so. But even then, with an LLC, you're not coworkers. You have your articles of formation with an LLC. You can have as many LLC members as you want to. You can do it sole prop, or you can do it with different members. My family's business was an LLC, so I understand how that kind of works. But they're not coworkers. At any time, any LLC member can decide that they want to dissolve the LLC. That's the unfortunate reality of an LLC, is if one member says, we're done, the LLC is dissolved and you got to reform the LLC because it's made up of members. They're not coworkers. They're not bound by a corporation. They're not bound by human resources. They don't. When you form your articles, the articles of formation for an LLC, you create the rules. So however Jeremy and Sydney want to create their LLC, if it is an LLC, they have full control over that. So it's not the same situation as Sydney versus the Blaze with her coworker Elijah Schaefer, where the two of them have separately negotiated contracts. It's a completely different ballpark. But what irritated me about this is I don't care about clickbait drama. That's cool. I mean, my video, I don't want to do clickbait, but I realize that there's a certain element of topics. If you cover a topic while it's popular, that can be perceived as clickbait. Like, I'm not going to be calling anybody a grifter, because I hate the term grifter. Some people wear it as a badge of honor. Some people call everyone a grifter. I'm like, I'm not going to go there. What I don't understand is where all of a sudden it's popular to start attacking women for the sake of like, let's get another one. Okay, Eliza Blue's kind of run its course. Let's go make another Eliza Blue. Yeah, and the Quartering has bad takes too, and the Quartering does stupid things. And I've watched him since 2020. He's had really low moments and shit. And you know what? That's what happens when you live your life online. It happens. I don't fault the guy for it, and most of the time he owns it. I wish he'd stop making the same mistakes. I wish we'd all stop making the same mistakes. But this dude is like, he's got a hate boner for Sydney for some reason. 4 hours ago, he's like, for all of you Sydney Watson simps, I got something for you tomorrow that breaks her entire case open. It's going to be glorious. This dude doesn't create original content. Most of what he creates, he just reports on a story. I voted on this earlier. It's absolutely hilarious. He said a day ago, Sydney Watson is Eliza Blue 2.0 for the reasons she is suing the Blaze. True or false? 78% voted false. Okay? Out of 2.2 thousand votes. The new Leafy, the new Trump, new Eliza, desperate keep riding that train. I meant grift as a joke. Yeah. No, honestly, I wasn't even commenting on your thing about she's a grifter and wants to tear down the right. Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I don't care if someone wants to call themselves a grifter and they think it's a joke or it's funny and they're cool with the term. Like Nick Rekieta, he loves being called a grifter. And you know what? He's making tons of money and he doesn't care. For me, I guess when I think of the word grifter, I don't think this has anything like a Webster Dictionary version of like what it actually means. For me, a grifter is somebody who has something to gain, either financially or based on like authority position, from like spouting a certain ideological belief that they don't actually personally believe. For me, that's a grifter. If you can gain financially, or from like a persuasive, like Eliza Blue situation, you gain persuasion or authority through spouting an ideal or a system of beliefs that you don't actually buy into, that's a grifter. Anything else, I'm just like, if somebody's out there hustling, I don't know that I call that a grift. What's wrong with capitalism? Smaller creators trying to build on the next level creator. Yeah, no, and that's the thing is like I hate the fact that small YouTube creators are protected from the big guys. So like a small creator can dump on a big creator, but not the other way around. And I get it. They don't want a big creator burying a smaller creator. Well, like if Justin saw my opinion about his videos, I wouldn't care if he responded. I'd be more than welcome to have a conversation about it. I think he's way off base. And unfortunately, if you look at the comments and shit, these are like the women hating conservatives here. This dude's like, why would she do this? Why do all these women have to betray us? Who said she betrayed you? Lay it on them, make them weep, LMFAO. Finish her. No real man simps for an old woman. Sydney Thoughtson is gonna get wrecked. Since when the frick did she become a thought? Don't lie about who you are, especially being trafficked, 100%. But this is the shit I'm talking about. This dude goes out there with no facts, no evidence, and starts trying to create drama about Sydney. Dude, you want to report on the story and say, hey, I don't think this has any merit. What she's saying is pretty, it's insubstantial. She doesn't have a leg to stand on. There's just not enough facts. She's going to have to show receipts. I can respect that opinion. That's his opinion. I get it. And I actually agree with him. If she doesn't bring evidence enough, at least more than what she has now, she's probably not going to win this case. But to actually try to get the rage bait, the clickbait out of people to where now you're not just saying, I think that she's full of shit, or I think that maybe this is over embellished or whatever. Now it's, oh no, she's a dirty left-wing grifter that's this crazy woke feminist because of all these terms she used. It's like, dude. In this day, every word gets refined out of old meanings. Internet culture, phone culture is wildly moving. Oh, dude, trust me, I can't keep up with it. I feel like the old man here. Like the Tate effect. Even women like Just Pearly Things and Passports Bro ride on the bandwagon and portray most Western women as evil. Add to that Amber and Eliza with their fake victimhood. Yeah, and 100%. Unfortunately, the fake victims make it harder for the real victims. That is 100% the case. That is just what happens on a daily basis. But what I absolutely hate is when people see an opportunity and it's like, he's over here making videos about her, calling her a grifter, calling her a liberal, calling her a left-wing radical, calling her woke, all this crap because of the terms that were used in a legal document filed by a massively professional lawyer who none of us could actually afford to hire in real life. But this dude is grifting, again, that term grifting, off of her court case against a multi-million-dollar corporation. Dude, what do any of us have? Like, why do any of us need to white knight for the Blaze? They're big boys. If they didn't handle their shit properly, they'll get it sorted out in court. But because she sues her former boss, now all of a sudden she's a left-wing radical. I don't know. For me, I just had to get that off my chest because I'm like, dude is way off. And anybody that disagrees with him, like my comment was just like, okay, I understand that it doesn't look good that she's suing her former employer, but that doesn't make her left-wing. Literally anybody can get sued for anything at any time, especially in a corporate situation where there's dollars to be made and a code of conduct that has to be followed. That's the way corporations set themselves up. They make the rules, they have to abide by the laws, and they have to enforce the rules, otherwise they better cover their ass because somebody's going to come for that paycheck. It's the way it works. And yeah, social media is the biggest megaphone, 100%. I don't know. Like, I can respect making content on stuff that is current and popular. I mean, I hate having a really good video that bombs because it's not trending, because it's a topic that's been suppressed, because it's something that YouTube doesn't push to the front of the algorithm. I mean, I made an okay Henry Cavill video. It was subpar, and it got like 21,000 views, 24,000 views, and YouTube actually promoted it to the front page or whatever. It was on the recommendations page. Same thing with my Eliza Blue Annie Donowald investigative video. But it's like, you're going to have videos from time to time that just kind of tank because they're not trending, not popular. Oh, thanks, Sour Patch. I'm going to bed too. I got to go to work anyways, but I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest first. Even if you support traditional values or support men's rights, children's rights, even if you want to stick up for themselves or respect in the workplace, it's scary from the right. Yeah. Easy travel bubbles to go viral. 100%. And I do not want to fall into it. Like, I don't care if people watch Hassan or H3 or The Quartering and stuff. I don't really care. That's up to you. You want to watch different content, go for it. I don't want my personal intake of people's opinions to ever get to the point where I feel like I have to defend somebody who has a bad take, defend somebody who's made a stupid decision. People have to own their shit. Like, that's what got Eliza into trouble in the first place. The whole reason this entire thing happened is because she wouldn't own her past. And instead, then it became, it's not just that she's owning and not owning and hiding her past. Now we have questions about her entire story. And then that's just where the entire thing snowballed. Now we got Tim Pool, Daily Wire, Sydney Watson, Blaze, Crowder. The entire freaking thing is snowballing. And next year we got a freaking election year, and it's like UFOs, chemical spills. I don't know. It's all too much. You married a woman who likes video games more than you. She was just like, hey, you mind if we get a PS5? When she found one for the sale the other day at retail. All women aren't the same. I want to see him fight too, Godzilla. And yeah, Peanut, my wife, doesn't play video games. She grew up with her sister and then a half-brother who stayed with them sometimes, and neither one of them played video games. So, like, my kids are all gamers. They're all learning to play the keyboard. They're all into everything. My daughter loves drawing. She's been drawing since she was a toddler, and she draws on the iPad, and she's going to be an artist or something. And, like, they're all into all these things and stuff, and it's like, my wife just, we'll play Among Us together, and she has to play on her phone, and she has the hardest time, but she can play that, you know? But yeah, it's funny. Not everybody's the same. Not every guy is a gamer, and not every girl is girly. And just because somebody uses a word or a term or says something doesn't mean that they're left wing or right wing. Just ridiculous, you know? Oh yeah, 100%. Exactly, Sour Patch. You have a good night. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts on the whole thing, guys. I'm gonna get some sleep. Now that I got my video covering this whole Ohio thing done, I kind of want to go back into my investigative stuff I was doing about these clinical trials they were doing for this COVID medication. Probably won't get any views because I know YouTube's not going to suggest it, but it's some pretty interesting stuff. How they actually conduct clinical trials, who's funding them, why they promote certain medications ahead of other ones. So that's probably the next one I'm going to work on, unless another big story comes along that I feel like digging in. I appreciate it, Daniel. Good name, by the way. That's my name. Try to work the algorithms? Yeah. It's up to the creator how they try or don't. 100%. And this guy, Justin, he can do what he wants to, but I hate seeing... I felt bad at times. Like, what if we're wrong about Eliza? What if we're wrong? Like, what if all of us that are outraged on the internet, what if there's a shred of doubt that we're wrong? And then you look at the evidence, and then you look at the reporting coming out, and then you look at everything else and you go, no, this is not one that we were off base. So I hate seeing somebody get dogpiled because an internet mob decides one day it's cool to dogpile somebody. I'd like to wait and see if there's any evidence, you know? And that's the thing. That's my only take on it. All right, Peanut, Daniel, Sour Patch, all you guys, Godzilla, I am out of here. Probably going to live stream again into this week, maybe